right, guys, welcome back to the 7th episode of 11 Bang Gang. Today, I have a Recon Marine here with me, Andrew. But here's the deal. I know that I said I started this podcast, so we're going to talk no special forces. So he's only medium speed and medium drag, not high speed, low drag. So don't get it twisted. For those of you who aren't familiar, Recon is reconnaissance. Andrew, say what's up to the gang.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks, Alex, for having me on. I'm psyched to chat a little bit, and yeah, it should be a good time.
All right. So the first thing I want to say is happy birthday to all the Marines out there. You know, we're psychotic, and we'll tell everybody that will listen that it's our 250th birthday. And I'm not going to lie, dude. I've seen a lot of posts. I have never seen this many, like, Marines acting retarded on Facebook, but like everywhere.
people are psyched on the 250, man. That's a big one. I'm seeing a lot more of it. My wife asked me yesterday, she's like, "Is that the Marine Corps birthday?" I was like, "Oh yeah." Big time. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I mean, it's been insane. So, also happy Veterans Day. We're doing this on Veterans Day.
You as well, man. And thanks for having me on Veterans Day. I feel honored, and it's a cool time to be able to do this.
Yeah, for sure. But I have a story to tell you, and I have a story to tell the audience. So, okay. All right, here's what happened. All right, so my brother-in-law, young kid, goes to school. He's young. And so they did this Veterans Day thing at his school. So they asked me, they were like, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, you know what? I'm like going to wear my uniform. Because I'm like, I can still fit in my dress blue.
That's a flex right there, man. That's cool.
Yeah. So I can still fit in. Now, the uniform, this wasn't the dress blue Bravos. This was the dress blue Charlie. So the long sleeve shirt with the tie. Because I was like, okay, it's got to be legit. So I went and got a haircut. Yeah. I did all this stuff. I ironed my uniform. Dude, I'm in it, right? I already
giving
tried
yourself
it on.
Some flashbacks, huh?
So the problem is, I do all this, and I get up this morning super early, put my uniform on. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. And when I go to touch I go to, like, you know how you'll put your foot in the sole of your other shoe to, like, kind of push it. If you're trying to put your foot in it or something, when you're trying to put your shoes on and you kind of force the toe of one shoe into the sole of the other shoe, okay, to try to hold it in place. Well, I do this morning, and the heel comes off of the core frame.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nothing a little super glue won't fix, yeah?
No.
Oh, dude, it's catastrophic.
So I was so pissed because I'm like, these are the inspection core frames that I've had. So these are the ones that have been worn like 3 times. I got out of the Marine Corps. I took the ones that I wore on duty and stuff. I threw them away, and I kept these in my uniform. So I'm thinking these bitches ain't been worn like 3 times. Yeah. What it is once I looked at them, they still look beautiful. I mean, they don't look dry rotted, but what it is just the age. So 9, I mean, I've been out 9 years. So
isn't that crazy how fast that goes?
Yeah. So what I did was, my kids were like, they still wanted me to wear it. So I was like, I went down there in civilian clothes, which I'm actually glad that I didn't wear it, because could you imagine walking across the room and like your core frame just splits?
Oh yeah. At least it happened then, huh?
So luckily it was salvageable, the whole experience. But I got home, and the photo you'll see on my Facebook, for those of you who see my Facebook, that's the photo of me. I got home, I put my uniform on, and so I took a picture with the kids, because I was like, I've ironed this thing, so I'm putting a
wearing
picture.
This uniform today, yeah.
But yeah, because
that's crazy, man.
My wife was like, "You don't have any other black shoes?" I'm like, "Look, it has to be, it has to be."
Yeah, because you do something else, someone, it's going to get posted somewhere. Someone's going to call you out.
Oh, yeah. That's what I told my wife. I was like, I'm not becoming a Marine meme for this ball season. It ain't happening.
Yeah. He'd be all over Facebook for another reason.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Man, I haven't worn my blues, 2011, maybe, something like that. It's been a long time. I actually just found them the other day. I had some stuff stashed at a buddy's place, and I finally got it back from him. I was like, oh, that's wild. I'll never be able to fit into these again.
Did you try to put it on at least?
No, I think I tried to put the jacket on a while ago, but it hasn't been refitted since boot camp, and I'm not fat now, but I think I graduated boot camp at like 180 and I'm, 215 now. So it's a little different.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, so I did 4 more years after the infantry. So I did have to wear my uniforms in my second term, which I don't think I got anything refitted except I bought a pair of 32 pants. But the issue is when I went to go put the shirt on and, the Charlies, the dress blue Charlies, you have to button that top button where the tie is. Dude, I'm serious when I mean my neck has gotten thicker. I don't want to say fat, but I'm like, it looks like that tie is choking me to death.
Oh man. Yeah. It's a little different when you're 18. Yeah. Coming out of boot camp.
Yeah. For real.
It's a different time.
Okay. Hi. Well, now that obligatory Veterans Day story is over, we can move on. Okay. So for you, where'd you grow up, roundabout?
Yeah. So, I kind of claim North Carolina. That's where I spent the majority of my growing up years. I don't tell a whole lot of people this now, but I was actually born in Southern California, pretty close to Pendleton, actually. But we moved when I was really young out to the East Coast. And I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, I think until I was 16. I had kind of a bit of a tumultuous family life, as seems to be the norm for most of us. And so at 16, I ended up moving in to live with my much older half brother, who he had wife and kids and everything by that point up in Maryland. And that's where I graduated high school and enlisted from, was up there.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when you were a kid, did you want to join the military or was that a later decision?
Yeah. Man, as far back as I can remember, and my mom sent me some photos recently of me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old in camis, kind of funny, like saluting, fake guns. And it was really my whole young childhood. I couldn't tell you when it started. I don't know what triggered it. My again, much older half brother, he was in the Army. He went to West Point. He was never in during wartime. That might have had something to do with it. I can't tell you if it did or didn't. But it was just kind of a foregone conclusion for me that I knew I was going to join the military. And it's funny looking back on it now. I remember watching, I watched a ton of like the History Channel just all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember watching shows on like Desert Storm and watching guys like rappel out of Chinooks. I'm like, man, I had this weird memory of feeling like I hope that the technology doesn't change so much that I don't get to do that, which is funny thinking back on it. I had some teenage years too, where I got into some trouble and kind of lost the focus there. So it wasn't like this like single-minded focus throughout my entire childhood, but it kind of was just always this thing that I knew I was going to do.
Now, so you didn't have a family history of the military, like your dad, granddad, great granddad, nothing crazy like that.
No, nothing that really, nothing that I knew about, nothing that affected me. Again, my brother, but I saw him a handful of times before I moved in with him throughout my entire life. So we weren't, particularly close or anything. I probably thought it was cool. He was a tank platoon commander, I think. But no, it just seemed, I don't know, blood memory or something like that was just something. Yeah. It clicked with me from a very early age.
How old are you?
35. I think we're probably the exact same age.
Yeah, we are. Okay, yeah. So 35. Yeah, so that makes things easy. Okay, I see. That's the thing. It's like when you're dealing with somebody that's not your age on here, you have to think about their timeline. Yeah. And now I can just be like, okay, his timeline's the exact same timeline.
It's been really cool listening to your other episodes, man, because, we talked about kind of where we might have met each other possibly before. I'm sure we'll get to that, but it's cool that we're in like the exact same timeline, very similar experiences. I think it'd be cool to kind of compare and contrast, what's similar and what we saw that was different.
Yeah, for sure. So did you, 9/11 happened when we were kind of young. I remember it. Not really, but like I said more to other people, and I'm sure you've heard me say, is like we grew up with the war. So the war was like this thing where in our most impressionable ages, we're like, we're going to do it. And so that the same line you were kind of thinking.
So I was actually homesick on 9/11. And so I watched the whole thing unfold on TV.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, I remember like it was yesterday. I was watching the History Channel. I was watching a show called Hitler's Secret Weapons of the Third Reich, and they were like bouncing giant bowling balls across the ocean into ships. And I was at my dad's house, but my mom worked across the street, and she came and knocked on the door. She's like, "Are you watching TV?" I was like, "Yeah, it's wild." She's like, "No, turn on the news." And I was 11 at the time, but I was watching the news when some guy was being interviewed in the Pentagon when the Pentagon was hit. And so I have a very strong memory of that. And it was definitely, it set me on, I was young and impressionable, and my parents were Fox News watching, George Bush loving, church going conservatives. So it set me off on this whole thing of like kill the terrorists and like this whole deal. But yeah, that played a major part. And yeah, I remember, we were 14. I remember, not that I was super involved in it or not, paying attention, but I remember when like Fallujah was going on as a kid. And then, when we were, early high school is when, our, maybe older friends or friends, siblings and stuff started deploying and oftentimes getting killed over in Iraq. So it, that war was our childhood in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
9/11 really did shape our whole growing up experience.
Yeah. I think, everybody talks about like the GWAT vibe, and I just seen something online because of course right now, everything you look at on our timelines are flooded with memories and check this out. But have you watched the movie Warfare?
I haven't seen it yet. I think I probably saw the same meme that you're referring to though. I decided not to watch it, honestly. I was just like, I just don't need to do that to myself right now. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Is it good?
It is.
Is it worth watching?
It is the most, in my opinion, so listeners, shove it if you don't like it, my opinion, I think it is the most accurate war movie ever made of that time frame.
Yeah.
I can argue that We Were Soldiers was the best Vietnam War movie, but whatever.
So I guess I keep hearing that, and I have no doubt that it is. And for me, I just felt like I've got, I was there, and you were too. Like we remember it. It's like, I don't need to go watch the most realistic movie. I almost felt like it would be better to just show other people. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Do you think you got anything out of seeing it, or was it just reliving the glory days?
Yeah, I mean, like reliving the glory days, but I'll be honest with you. I was worried when I went to bed that night because I was like, am I going to have some like super realistic dream, after this? Mm-hmm. But to me, it showed okay, all right, and I'm weaving, but it's fine.
You're kidding.
All right, so it showed like how like whoever was the audio engineer was a genius because how like when everything is loud and quiet at the same time and it's like you're zoning, you lose focus on something, but you can hear something. All that is all in the audio. And then like the helplessness of just not being able to control the situation or things just happening. If you really watch it, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, really the best thing to do is to get high and watch it, to be honest, because then you're, like, focused and then you're, like, in the zone. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, other vets may argue with me, and I will say that if you're triggered easily, avoid it. But
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm triggered easily, but I just, I don't know. I guess it was like, I guess the question was like, am I going to gain anything out of watching this, or am I just putting myself through a thing?
Yeah. I will say that the story is based on a true story. So watching the mission unfold and its execution, its shit showness, its the leaders who lead and those who don't. It's interesting to watch from that perspective.
I'll check it out at some point. I wanted to see it in theaters, but it just it's very difficult to do that kind of thing with where we live and the young kids we have right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel that. I mean, my thing is I wanted to watch it at night by myself with nobody else around because I'm like, I don't know. I just, and two, the thing is it's Iraq. For me, I never went to Iraq. So, I kind of felt more batter's not a word, but anyway, more better about watching it because it wasn't exactly, the Afghan experience. So
yeah, that's interesting. I'm honestly, it's one of the reasons I reached out to you. I'm disappointed in the lack of what I would call is like really good, realistic storytelling about Afghanistan. It's just, I've heard it referred to as the Forgotten War, which I don't know. I'm sure there's a half dozen other, conflicts that people are like, I was there, but I'm disappointed at how little has been. How few stories have been told about Afghanistan versus Iraq, and not to take anything away from those guys, obviously. And there's been some movies. I probably haven't seen most of them, but just it seems like a lot of the hero worship stuff with the Afghan movies that have come out. So I did think that was really cool. Just what I read about warfare is like, no music, very raw. So I'd love to see more of that stuff coming out.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, where I didn't ask you, but where did you see my post on X from? Did you see it from Clay when he reposted it?
It might have been Clay. It might have been, I was reading, I think it was like Josh Brooks, one of the Funker guys.
Okay.
They're talking about doing like a book project, and somewhere with the post
That's
circulating around that. It might have been Clay though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so like, props to Clay because like
it was Clay. It was,
yeah, because Clay posted, and I don't know Clay from Adam other than he reposted one of my comments about some drama he had with another Green Beret again with the extra drama.
I don't know him, but I love that dude, man.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Awesome.
If you vets that are listening to this want some vet on vet bro homosexual drama, go on X. I'm telling you right now, those dudes get madder than anybody. Anyway, but props to Clay because when he posted that, they were talking about that Josh Brooks was, and I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing the podcast. And then Clay reposted my comment, and I'm like, thank God, because he's got like 50,000 followers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, man. I give you a lot of props for doing this. I've had, an idea of trying to do something similar like this, or doing a road trip kind of video interview project of like, where are they now, 15 years later. But I just don't have the time or the bandwidth or the energy to tackle anything like that at the moment. So I appreciate you, doing this and giving guys a platform to kind of share their stories and talk some shit.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I mean, to be honest, like, it's been fun. I mean, I like to talk to you guys just as much as you guys like to listen. The only downside is I have to double check, listen to this podcast, so I have to listen to myself talk, and that's the worst part. But anyway, okay, so you're my same age. So you graduate in 08?
I did.
Okay, all right. So now, did you know what you wanted to do with the recruiter, or I'm assuming you did, because if you were an 0321, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
so the way it went down, like I said, I was living with my brother, and he was pretty strict. I was kind of on a short leash, let's say. And so the summer in between my junior and senior year, he kind of sent me off on some trips to go, toughen me up, let's say. And the deal was my reward, if I did well and didn't get into trouble, any of that, would be he would take me to go talk to the Marine recruiters when school kicked back up my senior year. And I went and talked to him, and I knew what recon was, and at some point when I was a kid, I had like Marine recon posters on my wall. So I was like, I was about it, man. I was like, as motarded as you can be, I was like more than that. I was about it. And so, I went and talked to the recruiter, and at that time I thought you had to go. I didn't know about the recon contract thing. My understanding was you had to do an enlistment in the infantry, and then you could, try out. And so I was like, I want to be infantry. don't even try to talk me into anything else. I scored pretty high in the ASVAB, and they were like, "What about this intel thing?" I was like, "I will walk away. Like, there's the Rangers, there's the SEALs. Like, I will go do anything else. Like, give me an infantry contract." And the day I went in to sign my O3X contract, there was a dude there, who had gone through the recruiting station, a year earlier, wearing an amphibious reconnaissance T-shirt, and I was like, "Dude, how do I get to where you're at?" And he had actually just gone through the last class of the East Coast Recon School, the amphibious reconnaissance school, versus West Coast is the base reconnaissance course.
Right.
And they shut that East Coast side down. But he was like, he started talking to me, and he's like, "I think there's a contract you can get. I think they have a couple of them right now." And it was literally like 2 days earlier, the fiscal year had reset. And so they had 2 recon contracts at the station.
Man.
I was like, tear up my O3 contract and give me one of those. And that was that. So I got.
Did you have a bonus?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I think it was like $10K, minus taxes and whatnot. And so for those of you that don't know, the recon contract, basically, you go through, boot camp, you go to SOI, you become an O311, and then if you meet some qualifications along the way, I think you got to get like expert rifleman. On paper, it says second class swim qual, and I'm sure we can chat about that later. And maybe first class PFT. Obviously, I think those are probably a big thing. Then you get a chance. Yeah. They'll send you over to the recon schoolhouse, and you get a chance to go through their training. And then if you make it, you go to recon battalion, you get the bonus. But it's a foot in the door. It's no guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just through. It's amazing when I look back at, I'll say my career. I only did 4 years and got out, but my time in the military, just how many, those little decisions, little coincidences, the little, God's looking out for you or not. All that comes into play.
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to go to boot camp the day I graduated from high school. I had a little like early, small party at the house with family, and then I went down to MEPS that night. But there was an issue. I'd had to have a small medical procedure done for me to enlist, and there was an issue with the paperwork, so I ended up getting delayed for like a week or two. So I got to go home and hang out with some friends and go fishing and shoot guns for a week or two, and then go back down again. But
so you went
torture.
Oh, yeah, I bet. See, so we probably had the same exact recon poster. Was it the one where he's got the cami painted face and he had like a K-bar?
Yeah, and then there's like some guys jumping out of an Osprey and some other dudes patrolling through like a cornfield or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I'm gonna tell you, as gay as it sounds, I worshiped that poster for many years. They know whoever was running their media back then knew what they were doing. Dude, they knew how to pluck them, bro. Well, my thing was I don't remember, because my dad was Marine. I don't remember how. I don't know how, but somehow I got told, like, you need to know. So I don't know if I went on Google, found the MOS number, but I figured it all out. And when I went to that recruiter, I told him, I walked in that office and I said, this is what I want. And he was like, take the ASFAB. That's what he told me. He said, you take the ASFAB, whatever you score on there, we'll talk. And Staff Sergeant McGinnis, he was a tanker, legit dude. I think he actually just retired. I'm Facebook friends with him.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
My recruiter still has my high school diploma, and I lost track of him a long time ago.
Well, whoever recruited this homie, give him his diploma back. Jesus. Jeez.
He was gone by the time I graduated.
Oh, man. That sucks. So you get delayed. When do you end up going to boot camp?
I made it to Parris Island in June of 2008.
June.
Probably early or mid-June. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, when were you down there?
So I picked up, I want to say June 7th, 2008. So, because I was
third. We might have been in the same battalion. No, I think I was second. I honestly don't remember a whole lot from boot camp.
Okay. I was 3rd Battalion, India Company.
I want to say I was 2nd Hotel Company. I know it was platoon 2062, so I guess that'd be 2nd Battalion.
Okay. For those of you who are wondering why we're retardedly comparing dates, it's because me and this guy are pretty sure we went to School of Infantry together.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's
yeah,
why
we were chatting over X setting this up, and I was like, dude, I think we were in the same SOI class because we remembered kind of the same event there.
I mean, this is like me running into the random dude at Ace Hardware who was in my battalion, like in the infantry. And I'm like, in this podunk ass town, you are kidding
That's crazy.
me, dude.
Yeah.
Ain't it though? It's wild. And I have a book. So my first deployment was a MEU, and we have like a yearbook. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like, and so I got home and immediately like tore this thing apart, and it was like flipping pages to it because I'm like, I gotta find this guy.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's because
make sure he's legit.
Yeah. That
like,
makes me sound like,
though?
I mean, that makes me sound like a terrible person, but he knew too much, and it's like I couldn't find him at first because he gave me a nickname, and then through stalking many forms of media, I finally figured the dude's real name out. And then when I found him in the book, I was like, okay, yeah, he told me the truth. But he knew too much because he's like new people. And I was like, there's no way this. Yeah.
If you're name dropping dudes and dates and, you're probably legit. And then you meet the guy who's like, I was in Special Forces Iraq,
Yeah. I mean, that's battalion. Like when you sent me the name of those two guys, I was like, oh yeah, I know these dudes. Like, are you serious? Because I don't know if you know, one of those dudes, well, I'll say his name on here because it doesn't matter. Koseki, he was a sniper.
I kind of remember hearing that. I wasn't super close with those dudes, but they were, kind of buddies back in the day. And then, I ran into the other one in Afghanistan in a part of your battalion, that little detachment. We're getting sidetracked. We'll get there.
Okay.
But, so
okay.
I don't even know if he remembered me, but I was like, I remember this guy.
He's probably like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. So so I got to ask this question. I'm sure you've heard me ask this question. So you go to boot camp, you had family who was in the military. Expectation versus reality. How was boot camp versus what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I had, and I've heard you talked about this before. I had read every book that I could get my hands on out there and watched, the documentaries and the shows. And something that I heard a lot of people will say was like, no matter how prepared you are, by like at some point in the first 3 days, you're going to say like, what the hell did I do? And I was expecting that, and I absolutely had that same experience where it's 36 hours in and you're just like, what am I doing and why am I here? But I honestly, knowing that was coming, it was like, oh, this is that part that everyone references, and then other than that, I kind of knew, I knew what all the phases were. I knew I think I knew more or less what to expect. So that's not to say it didn't have its challenges, and I didn't have to like try or anything. It's Marine boot camp. It's no walk in the park. It's no joke. But there was nothing that really seemed all that surprising, I'll say.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like there was like one or two dudes where I was just like, really? He made it? Yeah. I don't know if you.
And yeah. and then a few of them, you're like, wow, that dude quit? Really?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the only thing that really got me was there were just a couple of surprises where I was like, either he shouldn't have made it or he quit. Like that dude was legit, so.
Most of my favorite memories from my entire Marine Corps experience is not like, oh, this was so hard or whatever. It's just the weird and wild and crazy either experiences you have or things that you see. We had a dude and I won't tell too many boot camp stories, but we had this one dude that, it's press on, it's hot, it's humid, heat stroke is a major concern throughout the whole time. And the very final like run of the entire of all of boot camp. Like, we're done at this point. I think it's the final PFT, and this dude at the finish line just drops like a sack of potatoes. And man, they shoved a thermometer up his ass and threw him in a truck with a bunch of bags of ice so fast, and we never saw him again. He was just gone.
What?
Like, did he die? Like, it was like was it the Crucible? Like, it's like the last thing you do, and then you go 2 weeks, and then he just disappeared off the face of the earth.
You know,
that sucks, man.
The guy that cut my hair. So I don't normally. My wife cuts my hair. Normally, I don't have facial hair, but because I wore my uniform the other day, I had to get a haircut. So I go to the barbershop in town, and I'm already know I'm going to pay $30 for a fade that I used to pay $9 outside Camp Pendleton for. And he's asking me about the Crucible because because I got to get a haircut last minute. Yeah. It's a walk-in. I'm like, dude, does anybody know how to fade? And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, I don't want some bullshit answer. I need somebody who can fade a military haircut. So anyway, he's asking me about the Crucible, and I'm like, how do you know about the Crucible? He's like, man, I was watching YouTube videos on it. And I was just like, you forget that, like, the internet changes the game. So now everyone knows, if they've watched it, they know. And he was just like, how was it? And I was like, honestly, it sucked, but it wasn't that hard.
It's funny how so many people, and I think I probably did this before I went, everyone, fixates on boot camp. And I'll be honest, man, boot camp is probably the easiest thing I did in the Marine Corps. I don't say that to be like a flex or anything, but it just, you're in bed at 8:00 every night. You kind of know what the deal is. You just yell loud and run fast. And stay out of the way, and you're gonna get sweaty and sandy, and it's like whatever, But like no one's dying.
I think the biggest thing is culture shock for a lot of people, and even for me, because even for me, I was just like, you guys are kind of crazy. And I was like, and then by the end, you're just like, okay, we're all crazy because now we all are.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was thinking about what to talk about on this. So I got one boot camp story I'll tell.
Okay. All right.
And so Parashan, there's a lot of like lightning. Do you remember having to like wait for the lightning to pass before you could go PT or whatever? So we were trying to do some big battalion run. It was like a whole thing. So they were like really determined to make this happen. And we just kept getting lightning. So they finally brought everyone back inside the squad bays in the barracks. Because you had to stretch before you went running. It was like so many rules. It was so by the book. So we were going to do our stretching inside, and then everybody go out and run together. And so I'm looking down the squad bay at the drill instructor that's leading the stretches, and I'm doing that stretch where it's like your arms just across your chest and you're stretching your tricep out. And I'm looking down the squad bay, so I'm not looking in front of me. And right when we went to switch arms, one of the drill instructors had stepped in front of me to correct me on like knife hands or something. And I'm not looking at him at all. And I swing my arms down and I bring my other one up and I punched him right in the jaw. And I like look at him and there's a look, I'm sure, of horror on my face and just absolute. And if I was trying, it would have been a one-hit knockout. I hit him right just under the jaw,
man.
And he kind of like shoves me up against the rack, and he's just like so surprised. And he like gives me a jab, like, but more just like he had to do something, And it was so funny. And the next day, I was like cleaning that bathroom or something, and he came up and he actually started joking with me. It was like, "Hey, what's up there, Tyson?"
I feel like he set you up. Like, I feel like he knew it was coming.
It was just such a happenstance. Like, we just happened to switch arms right when he stepped in front of me. But it's my little, everyone's like, I couldn't go to boot camp because I would have punched him right in the face. Like, I accidentally punched him in the face. And we have to talk about it.
I'm one of these days, I'm not going to tell it today, but there is a story about punching a drill instructor. So yeah, but I'm not going to tell it today, but one of these days I'll tell it. Cause I actually did, but there's a whole circumstance behind that. It's a long story. So anyway, Yeah. So listeners,
I'll have to keep listening now.
Listeners, y'all are gonna have to keep listening because one day I'll tell that story. And I will
can't have
say,
two of those in the same podcast, huh?
I will say this Marine cannot defend himself because he is in the brig. So anyway,
oh, damn.
yeah, but
that's
not
quite the setup.
Not by me.
Right.
But anyway.
Shows a pattern of character, you know.
It's a pattern of character. But anyway, all right, so you leave there. I'm assuming if you graduated around the same time as me, that would have been
graduated August, probably August 5th, I want to say.
Okay.
No. June,
no.
September 5th.
June.
Early September.
Yeah. So you went to Parris Island, so they send you to Pendleton, same as me.
Yep. Which was a total surprise to me. No idea that it was coming. And I went to get my orders, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to the West Coast." And I was like, "Rad, that's awesome."
You know, I think I was in the same boat as you. I think I was shocked because they were like, "You're going to California," and I was like, "Why?" And they were like, "That's where BRC is," and I was like, "Okay, cool,
sounds good, man."
Yeah. And so when you get there, and I remember this when I got there. I think this was when I got there. I'm pretty sure as we were driving from the airport to Pendleton, the dude in the van was like, "Oh, we can't go in the normal gate we would go in because there's a giant wildfire on Camp Pendleton." And I don't know if you remember this, because I remember thinking to myself, are we insane? You're bringing me onto a base with a massive wildfire.
Maybe we shouldn't do that. You know, I vaguely remember that, but I think I was when I got out to California, I think I was there. I got there like a day or a half a day early or something like that, just the way that flights worked out. And so me and some of the other, there was a handful of us coming over from the East Coast to, same situation. And we'll go check in early, and be motivated, blah, blah, blah. Check, And dude, I showed up and checked in, and they had, I don't know if you remember this, but so 52 area School of Infantry has this thing called Camp Guard, which is these dudes in orange vests that like roam around and guard the armories and like walk around with radios and getting fucked with. I got stuck in Camp Guard for like 2 months, and it might be the worst experience of my entire life. It was absolutely, I would go to BRC or deploy. I would do an entire enlistment in BRC before I would spend another day in Camp Guard. I don't want to go into the whole nitty gritty, but you're basically in prison, and we didn't do anything wrong. We showed up early. Right. And just the way the schedules worked and the way the whole thing was set up. I mean, I think I went a week without more than like an hour of sleep at a time. It was just, you got this crusty old, just angry, disgruntled corporal that just hates you and hates everything around him in charge of you.
What was the Camp Guard NCOs? What was their MOS? What were they doing?
I think there was like infantry guys that were getting fapped out because they were about to get out. So they probably just got off some shitty deployment. Yeah, I guess some Corporal Moreno that just came back to me after I haven't thought of that name in decades. But yeah, dude, it just sucked, man. It was awful, and just for no reason. It didn't have to be that way. We didn't do anything wrong, but so we weren't out. You couldn't leave. You couldn't go outside. Like, I didn't see the outside of Pendleton until the first weekend of actual SOI of infantry school, which was like 2.5 months later. Man. It was like, I didn't. You'd see the outside of the squad bay to get marched to the chow hall and back, and then you might get like half a day on the weekend. It was straight up like being in the brig, without bars. But so anyway, I kind of remember a wildfire, but I was in fucking purgatory. So I definitely remember.
You asked me because if we were in the same class, which I think we were, what I need to do? My mother, I'm pretty sure it's my mother, because my mother has my EGA that I got in boot camp, which I told her I'm going to steal from her one of these days because she stole it from me. She, quote unquote, kept it for safekeeping, but that's bullshit.
You're not responsible enough for it.
Yeah. She also has, I think, the picture that we took in SOI, like our class photo, it's in, a rolled up thing. It's a super wide photo, but I need to find it. I need to find it, but even if I find it, you have to take a damn magnifying glass to look at all the tiny heads on
That's
there. And
true.
then you're like, and then it's 20 years ago. So you're like, does that dude look familiar? I'm going to have to send it to you and be like,
And
hey,
we all
you in
look
this?
the exact same
Yeah.
back then too. You know, it's like I couldn't pick myself out of that photo.
Oh, dude, I'm going to tell you, I've seen some photos from like way back in the day that I didn't take. And I'm just like, is that me? And I'm like, no, that's not me.
For sure. Absolutely.
But
yeah, anyway, so I got stuck there for months and then finally escaped somehow and classed up with the infantry school class that, I think we were in the same class with.
yeah. So man, I don't remember. You asked me if I had been in Camp Guard, and I was like, I don't remember.
You would know. Dude, it was that bad.
I vaguely remember doing that, but here's the thing. And I was talking to the last guy about this, is I hated SOI. Absolutely despised it. I don't know why. There was just something about it. It wasn't like, I loved
like boot camp plus, you know?
Yeah. So like, how was that for you? I mean, I'm assuming it was just SOI was SOI. So.
It was SOI. To be honest, coming out of that whole guard experience, it felt like being set free. I was just so happy to be able to like go outside, go to the beach on the weekend, actually shoot some guns and not just stand there holding one for 12 hours at a time or whatever. I do, it was kind of funny. I remember, there's always the debate on like, Paris Island or San Diego, hills or swamp. And I've just always been good at hiking and rucking. I didn't really realize that until right about now, I guess. But even, I'm sure we'll talk about this later. I'm like professional mountaineering and hunting guide now. So it's like my best skill is carrying weight uphill on my back. That's the thing I'm best at in life, for better or worse. But I was blown away. A bunch of the dudes I came over from Paris Island with, the very first hike out in California, they just dropped out. The first hill, they just died. And not literally, but they just all dropped out immediately. And I was like, this is not that hard. I will take the desert mountains any day over the swamp, personally. But yeah, it was SOI. It was better.
Yeah. I mean, my thing about it the hills wasn't hard. I think it's just you have to get used to I don't know, man. I'm a walker. I walked woods for years and years and years. And granted, Georgia's flat, so I get it, But at the same time, for me, it was just like, it's just twice the effort. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if we're on a vertical incline, it's just twice the effort. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do it all day, you'll find muscles that you didn't know existed at first.
Yeah.
But that's
you can train
for the course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You can't train, dehydrating in a swamp.
yeah, for sure. God. Yeah. I mean, I always said that we got the best of both worlds. Like guys like you and guys like me, where we did one on one and one on the other. It's like, hey, cool. Man, I got it both. Like, so y'all can't talk shit on me. I'm neither a Hollywood Marine or a Paris Island Marine.
I was thankful that there's just something about the lore of Paris Island, so it was cool to get to go there. And then, I love the terrain of Southern California. Desert mountains are the shit. So that was fun. So do you remember, we'll see if we were in the same class here. While we were in SOI, that time frame, there was they called it a drug, but it was this thing called like Rush that all the head shops were selling, this like liquid thing.
Was it spice?
No, it wasn't spice, but it was just, they called it Rush. And it was like this huge deal. Like there's like white or, Marine Corps orders coming out about it and, whatever. And we were at this range, one of the bigger ranges we did. And I'll never forget this because I was like standing in line to take a piss and I hadn't pissed all night long and I had to piss really bad. And something happened where someone like narked that some dudes were like using this stuff and throwing it in the porta shitters, and they closed down all the shitters and they picked. And so this was on a range with an entire SOI class. There's literally like shit piling, if you want to shit on the shitter, you're hovering above it. They're over full. And they picked like 4 dudes at random and put trash bags on their arms and were like, go digging and find these like Rush canisters, these little vials of, like caffeine plus or whatever. I remember thinking right there, I was like, dude, I'm a boot. Like, I would not, I would refuse that order. Like, you can court martial me. I'm not doing that. Like, luckily they didn't tell me to. And then the funny part was they didn't find any of those, but they started finding a bunch of bullets at the bottom that dudes have been coming off the night shoots and throwing all their rounds in the shitters that they'd already shot. So they wouldn't have to wait out.
I remember, I don't remember nobody digging through the shitter, but again, I may not have been near it, but I do remember. Did we get piss test on the range?
I think we might have gotten pulled in and then piss tested or something. But I don't even know if you could piss test for this stuff actually. But they were making a huge deal out of it.
I remember something like this, but I don't.
Okay.
Detail, dude, I'm telling you, man, the only two things I remember about SOI was one, throwing the grenade because I throw like a girl. And I'm going to sidetrack here. Funny story. I was the saw gunner in the fleet. So, smallest dude, 115 pounds, give him the saw. Why not?
Classic,
right?
Yeah.
It's classic. That's how it works, baby. You got to make that mofo work. So, they called me the little engine that could. But anyway.
I love that.
So anyway, we're doing mount on Camp Pendleton one time, and we're doing like, you got those little 40-foot shipping containers that are cut out in buildings, one of those little small ranges. Mm-hmm. And the guys are like, I had a grenade. And so because I'm like the third man back, they're like, hey, Rivers, throw a grenade in the doorway. And I'm like, I got you. I didn't play baseball, but fuck it. So I pull a grenade out. So this is like one of those training grenades. I pull it out, pull the pin, swing, forward of the second man and let it fly, and it bounces right off the door frame.
Oh no.
And then of course, then I think our sergeant was standing off to the side, and he's like, well, motherfuckers, it's a live grenade. So of course we haul ass around the building, and I remember when we come back, they were like, don't ever give that guy a live grenade in Afghanistan.
Just give him the machine gun, but nothing to throw.
So,
that's hilarious.
Anyway, that's why I vividly remember throwing that grenade because, they made such a big deal about it. They were like, if you don't throw this far enough, you will die. I mean, they were pretty much like, and so me as a non-thrower, I'm like, oh no, like I'm going to short it.
Oh, that's so funny. It's so funny like the little things that you stress about. Like, I got to be able to do this. I remember I tried to look to see where I threw it, and the guy like threw me on the ground. I was like, "Are you retarded? Don't worry about it. It's gone."
I remember how they told you they were going to throw you over the wall. They're like, "If you do this, we're going to throw you over the wall." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" I mean, I'll be honest with you. I never wanted to be a drill instructor, but I damn sure wouldn't have been an SOI
what a
instructor.
Stressful job, dude. Just trying to manage 1,000 retards throwing hand grenades, every week. That'd be awful.
Can you imagine? I mean, just like
I'd rather work in a gas chamber, dude. That sounds awful.
I don't think that Fleet Marines really think back to how retarded all the boot drops are and then go, okay, think about that all day, every day. Yeah. Well, at least
it's
for
no
the
wonder
grenade
they're
day.
So frosty and angry,
God,
like,
they were some mean motherfuckers. Hey, no, I do have one last question about SOI and then we'll move on. When Obama, the election was when we were in SOI.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember it.
All right. How did they tell you that Obama was elected?
Oh, I have no idea. I remember
I
had a very early version of like a smartphone that you could like once a day load a website page on, and I think I might have read it on that, but I don't know. I don't remember.
I only vividly remember this because the instructor comes in at like 11 o'clock at night. You know how you get the results back like super late. Yeah. And I don't even know what time it was. He opens the door and he's like, hey, motherfuckers, because the lights were out. And he's like, hey, motherfuckers. And we're all like, yes, Sergeant. And he's like, Obama won. And he's like, we're fucked. And then he slams the door and walks off.
I kind of remember something like that. Because I remember him talking about like the Clinton years. Now they just like had nothing and we're going to go back to that or something.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. It's funny, all those little moments. I totally missed the whole 2008 financial collapse because I was in boot camp. And by the time I came out, it was
Yeah.
done with. You know, it wasn't the front page on the news anymore. So like, it was like years later. I was like, I should read about that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's why my parents both lost their houses.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense now.
My dad had a business where he worked for a contractor who was building subdivisions. So so you're talking about moving $20,000 and $30,000 at a time. Yeah. So we would do a ton of work for this dude. And so like my dad was a nobody. He worked as a restaurant and he had a side hustle business putting inside doing landscape. And so this subdivision owed him like 30 grand. So when they defaulted, they were just like, we're not paying any of you guys. And so then the sod people are like, hey, you owe us this much. And my dad's like, I don't have the money. So, I mean, he ended up filing bankruptcy on the business and everything. And yeah, I mean, I knew it because it hit close to home. But I mean, to be honest, like it was crazy, man. But we missed most of that because we had a guaranteed paycheck and things were cheap at that time. So we were living high on the hog too. Well, I mean, with our $700.
Right. Yeah. Get the sea breeze down to San Diego, you know?
Oh, man. Okay. So you leave SOI, you go to BRC. Well, I mean, you go to BRC. How's that? Yeah.
So, that's where I think we crossed paths was that I remember that brief so at the end of SOI, they pulled all the dudes in with recon contracts, and they gave us a brief on like what was coming and let us ask some questions, which was the first time you'd come into contact with these guys you looked up to as gods almost, and got to ask some questions, and that was cool. And I was really stressed about it because on my contract it said I had to have a second class swim qual, but in the day you're supposed to go do the second class swim qual in boot camp, they made me go to dental. And so I tried to argue it, and I was like, I've got a recon contract. And they're like, there's no such thing. Go get your fucking teeth looked at. Yeah. And they didn't even actually see me in dental that day. I was really mad about it. So I had a third class, and either for whatever reason they let me slip in.
See, that's why I don't get that. I don't get that. Okay, so the listener should have heard it before. I had a recon contract. It was shit canned because me and, like he said, other people, Koseki, a couple other guys that I knew from 2-4, we got screwed because we didn't have the right swim qual. And what was up with the pool on Parasailing? It was, well, you said you went to dental, but there was something up with it, and they gave us all the wrong swim qual. They gave us like a basic.
I remember, that brief. I remember, the 20 or whatever you guys getting pulled aside. I just remember being like, dude, that sucks so bad. Cause, it was just like, there's nothing you could do about it. And you're just like, after all of that, and like, they sent you over to Pendleton and you think you're a foot in the door, and then you're just like, nope.
So
like, dude, I'm sorry that happened to you, man. That sucks. So anyway, they literally like, I think we were in our alphas still. They were like, grab all your gear, and they just like ran us down to BRC, like on foot, because it's like a mile down the road or something.
Yeah.
And we checked in, and it's like December, I don't know, like it's like a couple days before Christmas. And this is just kind of funny. They're like, so we're sending you guys all on recruiter's assistance so you can go home. If you don't want to go on recruiter's assistance, just they straight up told us just don't show up and they'll count it as leave instead. And I was like, sweet, because I got leave saved up. I don't feel like working at the recruiter's office. And we woke up the next morning at BRC at the compound, and there was nobody there except the most senior dude there was like a PFC who'd gotten there 2 weeks before and gotten hurt or something like that. I mean, every instructor was gone, and we were like, what do we do? Like, no, can we leave? Like, nobody knew what to do. And finally, by the end of the day, I was like, I guess we'll just go home. So I flew home. And again, they told us that if you don't want to do recruiter's assistance, just don't show up, and they'll just take it off as leave instead. And I'm home for like 2 days, and I get a call, and they're like, "Hey, this is Sergeant Soever at the recruiter's office. Is there somewhere that you're supposed to be?" And suddenly, I realized how retarded that sounded to just not show up to your place of duty. It's like, oh God, I'm in so much trouble. So I'll be honest, I didn't even try to give them that story. I was just like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'll be there as soon as I can.
Now
I'm like,
it's played the dumb boot, bro. Like,
that's exactly what I did. I was like, because just telling them that you know, oh, this Sergeant so and so said I could just do whatever I want sounded way more retarded than like I just didn't feel like coming, so I didn't.
so this is Christmas. That's
Yeah,
why everyone's gone. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
got there though.
we had to have been in the same class because when
Yeah,
I got to the fleet, it was the same story. They were like, unless you want to be on duty every day for the next 2 weeks, go home. And
yeah,
that's pretty much what they told me. So
yeah.
yeah.
We were definitely in the same class.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of, luckily the guys at the recruiting station took it easy on me and didn't NJP me for being
Oh, man.
UA immediately, you know. So anyway, get back to the BRC compound. I had it basically came down to like me or another dude to class up with what ended up being the class before mine. And they asked us if we were good swimmers. And I had been I was on my high school swim team and water polo team, but I was like not a standout performer on the swim team or the water polo team. So I was like, I don't know, I'm okay. And the other guy just was like, I'm a pretty good swimmer. So like, cool, you're classing up, and like, you're not to me, which was great. Because I got to hang out basically for 3 months at BRC, and it started off really rad. It was just, they called it MART at the time, Marines Awaiting Reconnaissance Training. And you pretty much
Yeah.
just like wake up, work out all day, and like hang out with the boys and eat pizza and watch like Step Brothers had just come out. We watched that like every night.
Wow.
And it was rad. And then these two assholes showed, dude, the story, and it sounds crazy saying this, but I'll repeat the story that we got told. They got caught coming through the gate in their own vehicle, which you weren't allowed to have, drunk and high with drugs and booze, and the story they told us was that they had a pipe bomb, like an IED, in their trunk. And these guys were like in Mart with us, and they're like, very well, you guys have enough free time to be getting drunk and high and building bombs on a Wednesday. Clearly, we're not working out hard enough. And it wasn't so much fun after that. It was a lot harder all of a sudden.
It never fails that there's always someone to ruin it for everyone else.
Dude, always someone. So, and it was fine. We just, we were just basically getting slayed just all day, every day at that point. But it was fun, like no real responsibility. It's just like, and I loved swimming. So like we went to the pool a lot, and like, I'll be honest, the pool is a break for me. It's not hard on the knees. I can swim. I can hold my breath. So that was great. And then I classed up with the next class. And this was one other funny story. Day one, so it was a bunch of us boots with recon contracts. We've been there for months at this point. We kind of know the deal. And then all the guys that were like lap movers from other MOS were coming in. So there was one dude who was a lap mover. I swear to God, I think he was coming in from the band. And he like re-enlisted to go recon. And like, so they sent him to SOI. He's an 0311 now. And dude, for those that don't know, the actual title of like a Recon Marine is amphibious reconnaissance. It's very water heavy. So day one of the basic reconnaissance course, we run a PFT, and the instructors say, cool, change out your stuff, get your stuff to go to the pool, be ready to go to the pool. And this sergeant leans over to one of us and goes, we have to go to the pool. I'm like, dude, you know where you're at, man? And he didn't make it one length of the pool. He could not swim. Like, they had to like pull him out. So anyway,
dude, do you know how disheartening that is to someone like me who spent months before I joined swimming every day? And it's like, and then he gets
crazy,
a slot.
Dude. He got a slot. The funny thing is though, is like he was an 0311 now, so they sent his boot ass to the fleet as a boot band sergeant.
And he got no respect for those stripes.
100%. Yeah, I don't know what happened to him, but I'm sure it wasn't good. But yeah, BRC was tough. I think I was around, the 10% mark of my class for just about everything. I was good at rucking and I was good at swimming, and those are kind of the two equalizers. Like the pool is what, and the ocean is what takes most, like 90% of people out. So I didn't really struggle with either of those. Those, again, the pool and swimming was not that it wasn't challenging. You end up doing a bunch of 2 kilometer open ocean fins, full gear and rucks and stuff like that down at Coronado in amphib phase. But I enjoyed it. It was cool. Patrol phase, which was for us the second, was tough. Heavy packs and a lot of sleep deprivation, which is probably my least favorite thing. We had this kind of just like psycho. My team had this crazy instructor, and so I swear, man, every other team on patrol phase, they'd be, you kind of patrol all night. They'd be back by noon, cleaning weapons, eating some chow, planning their next patrol, and we'd come in 6 p.m. just like bang, like breaking contact with like multiple casualties, and you're carrying them and their rucks, and just like it's funny looking back on it, but I was like, what the hell is going on? This guy is actually trying to kill us. But yeah, it was cool, man. It was the real deal. And to be fair, it was probably a lot easier when I went through than even a couple of years later, because they needed bodies, and so they were pushing people through. And that's not to say that I'm sure I would have graduated either way, but it got harder later on when my buddies went to go be instructors. It was a lot harder, to be honest.
So yeah, because the drain was MARSOC was getting stood up, so a lot of your recon now is Force Recon still a thing at this time, or are they pulling basically Force Recon into MARSOC to stand up MARSOC?
That's a good question. And I'm sure I'll get this maybe not perfectly correct, but essentially, yeah, MARSOC got stood up, I want to say in 2007, and they essentially took what was then Force Recon and said, "Wusa, you are all now part of SOCOM and part of MARSOC." And so Force Recon went away for a couple years. And then right when I hit the fleet, there was a Force company that had just gotten stood back up months earlier. And for those that don't know, so there's kind of 2 types of Marine Recon. There's battalion recon, recon battalion. You got first, second, third, and that is a asset of it's a division asset. So first Recon Battalion works for First Marine Division, but then you also have first or whatever, the Force Reconnaissance companies, and they work for the Marine Expeditionary Force. So the MU. They're not part of SOCOM. Generally speaking, this isn't ironclad, but generally speaking, the Force guys are more experienced. You do a deployment or 2 a battalion, and you're legit. There's usually a pathway to go over to Force. And they would get, again, it was kind of on a platoon by platoon, and honestly a month to month or year to year basis, because things were just so fluid and changing all the time. But they would get some extra toys. It was the next step up, to be perfectly honest. It was something to aspire to, but so without getting, I'm sure I'll go into this more later. The whole problem, I'll say, with recon, and this applies to kind of both levels, is that it's not a SOCOM unit, and so it's part of the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps has this cross-pollination philosophy where they want to bring in senior leadership from other units. And I think they do this Marine Corps wide. So you got, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys in infantry, I mean, you can get first sergeants from anywhere else in the Marine Corps. It's the same thing in recon. And so we would get these first sergeants, these sergeant majors, these battalion commanders that had no reconnaissance pedigree, no background, and a huge amount of them came in. They were like openly hostile to us for being, quote unquote, like cowboy. They came in with the idea of like, we're going to fix you in grates and make you blouse your boots and cut your hair, and like, we're going to fix you. And they just had, and were we probably, pushing the boundaries and a little immature and like trying to, for sure, everyone wants to feel like they're special. And at the same time though, the level of dudes that, were being brought in here, you had to have, and this isn't me trying to pump my own chest or anything, but you had to have a certain ASVAB score. You had to,
that's right,
be able to swim. You had to do things to get there. And not just making it through the schools and stuff, but you just had, you had to get lucky, not get
Yeah.
fucked out of your swim call. It's amazing how many guys. So by the time you get to battalion, get to a platoon, get into a team, you feel a bit accomplished, and then you kind of just get your soul crushed. And um, there was no clear avenue on like way essentially. So you go to the, and I wasn't in army, but you go to the Army Rangers, and they're just like, okay, you can. There's a pathway if you want to go to Delta, if you want to go to SF, if you want to do this. There's and what I hear, they'll oftentimes support you in that. Whereas I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, so sorry, but in a lot of times the reconnaissance community, I think this is just big Marine Corps in general, is like if you express any interest in trying to do something, I don't want to say better, but like trying to strive.
Right.
It's like, oh, you think you're better than everybody? Well, have fun, painting rocks for the rest of your career because we're gonna fuck you up. And so that's all. That's all to say that. Sorry, I'm again. I'll go on some tangents here, but they brought in some really high caliber dudes. I heard some movie. I think it was one of the Bourne movies, and we were not Jason Bourne by any means. No, but it was like you were given a Ferrari and you treated it like a lawnmower. It kind of felt like that a little bit. Maybe like a souped up Honda Civic and you treat it like a lawnmower, but still.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it sounds like to me. And I think what you're talking about is Marine Corps wide sometimes. But the way I see it and the way I've seen Recon and read about it and talked to one or two other guys it's kind of like the scout snipers where it takes a higher caliber guy. So it's like, don't abuse what you have here, because if you abuse this team and you don't let them kind of develop their own culture, these are special guys. You just can't take any run-of-the-mill SOI graduate and toss them into this job. They won't make it, right? And that's why. And we both know that from SOCOM, we've seen that. But, it's like when you agree with you have these first sergeants who come in and they're like, they want to change the name of the game. And it's like, that just kills motivation.
It really did. I'll be honest, it did for me. And I want to be, I'm not here trying to pump my own chest. I did my job, but I was just a normal dude. And I'll be honest, I had a pretty bad attitude for a lot of my time in the Marines. I was pretty disgruntled. If any of my buddies hear this, I complained a lot, and I didn't, I don't mind doing hard things. I don't mind, there's going to be bullshit and whatever anywhere you go. But man, you shouldn't feel like, dude, I would rather sit down and have, I guess, a non-alcoholic beer with the fucking Taliban than some of my former commanders. Like to be like straight up, man. It was that level of hostility. We, especially on deployment, I felt a lot of times more hostility from the guys that were in charge of us than the guys shooting at us. It was wild, dude. It was fucking crazy. And maybe some of that was, I'm sure it's like it becomes toxic and you kind of feed into it and you become, but it definitely killed. Is that when I went in, I thought, I'm going to be here 20 years. I want to do, all these things, and I'm going to, and by about a year and a half in, maybe 2 years in, I was like, there is nothing in the world that could make me stick around here for 1 second longer than I have to. And then I ended up extending for a little while, but
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I like that first enlistment is a huge make it or break it to people. And especially for guys in combat arms, man, like we're over here reading Terminal Lance and, like a year and a half, 2 years in, you're like, fuck it, dog. I'm going to get promoted and demoted. I'm getting out Terminal Lance, I mean,
yeah.
Man, dude, I know I had some bad leaders there for a while that I legitimately had a sergeant tell me. He said, take the good things from the bad leaders, take the rest of what they do to you and make yourself who they're not. And I carried that with me. I carried that with me to the wing. He said, he said, Sergeant Triplet, shout out to you if you listen to this. He's my old squad leader. But he told us, he was like, you just make yourself who you want to lead you. And that's what I did. When I took that to the wing, I mean, when I was promoted to sergeant, I was the sergeant that I wanted to lead me. Now, I didn't take no bullshit. And sometimes I was like, hey, motherfuckers, this is just what we got to do. And if you got a problem with it, then the fucking door is there. But at the same time, it was like troop welfare, you know?
You can be tough. You know, there's tough love, and then there's just being, you know, vindictive and hating the guys underneath you. And there's a big difference between those. And you know, when we get into some of the deployment stuff, I can elaborate a little bit more. But yeah, there was a lot of toxicity, to be perfectly honest, just throughout the entire command. And that's I want to caveat, like, I worked with some badass dudes, man. I was kind of middle of the pack, pretty average dude. I think I did my job pretty well, but you know, I wasn't a standout in a whole lot of stuff. And I worked with some absolute studs, man. And that was it was really just high caliber guys I wanted to work with, be around. And I'm still disappointed that the potential that was there, that just was kind of abused, in my opinion. But you know, not a whole lot you can do about it.
Yeah. So you get to battalion, you do BRC.
Yeah.
Do you go to jump school after that?
No. So back then there was no pipeline like there is now. So now you graduate BRC before you ever hit battalion. Again, I'm pretty out of the loop these days, and I've been out for a long time. But now before you're like operational, they're sending you to jump, dive, free fall, like all the things. Whereas back then, you know, so before my class, up until my class, all the guys have been going like over to third recon. It's just kind of in cycles. And then my class was the first one that we started going backfilling first recon, which I was super happy about, which was out of Pendleton. So we just drove across the base.
Where was first recon at?
It was in, oh man, I can't believe I'm having a hard time. I've been out for 12 years now. So it wasn't, they moved it to Flores. It was in, I think it was Margarita. It was 33 area. When I was in. Okay.
I vaguely know where that's at.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of in the middle of the base. There's like MP company over there, and like maybe like a truck company, or there's not a whole lot going on over there.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of cool. We were like mostly there by ourselves with some like super pogue battalion assets and like cool and a chow hall and like that, and like some hills that we could, you know, they'd make us run up if we got in trouble, and that was about it. And I've heard you kind of talk about this in your other podcast, but we got there just as guys were getting back from Iraq. They kind of had a bullshit deployment. And that's nothing against those guys, but they would say that. They'd be the first ones to say that. And we all just figured we were going for them back and for us to Iraq. And that was kind of the whole deal. This was in May of 2009. So almost a year in before I, you know, made it to the fleet. I know your question about jump school. I've got some jump school.
No.
I should tell later. But
you're good. Roll. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
So we got there and got put in the platoon. I stayed in the same platoon for the rest of my enlistment, through 2 deployments, and with a lot of the same guys. And I'll just say it was a really cool. Our platoon was, I feel, something really special, and that's not a dig at any of the other guys. You know, everyone had their own culture, but we just had this weird thing in our platoon where we all knew we were all of us were there because we wanted to go to fucking war. We wanted to fight and kill bad guys. And we lost a lot of dudes in our platoon, like not throughout the workup. Like we called it, so I was Bravo Company first. We called it Bravo 1 selection because like we'd bring in like a corpsman or a radio guy or like other Recon Marines, and like our platoon sergeant was ruthless, man. If they one thing wrong, gone the next day. And we went through like 3 or 4 radio operators and a handful of corpsmen, and like he just kept like, send me a different one. This one's not going to work. And we got to Afghanistan, and before we left the wire, we sent a dude home. We're like, no, actually, you're not going to work out here. Go home. Like at like a 0321, you just kicked him out of the platoon because he had the wrong attitude or something. Which it kept you on your toes, you know. It was like this one kid, man, I remember he was a nice kid, which is why he didn't make it. um, and he did a few patrols with us, and he was fucking weird, dude. I'm not gonna say his name. We had a nickname for him that rhymed with his name that basically alluded to him being a potential axe murderer. And he was a nice kid. Like, I didn't mind being with him, but they dropped him, and I remember him like tearing up because, like, he
Man.
went to the armory for the rest of his enlistment, and like, but so it was weird to think back at, especially like getting into country, like how many dudes I knew that had just, for one, injury, a swim qual, whatever, had just
Yeah.
dropped off along the way, and you just kind of, those of us there just kept their head down and kept pushing, and one day we were, putting live rounds in our guns and getting onto a helicopter in Afghanistan. So,
I'm gonna tell you, man, like the path, and even a lot of people don't know that even an infantry company will drop guys. I mean, I'm not saying it's nowhere near the attrition rate, but like
I'm sure, man.
The path of training with any combat unit is littered with the people that just don't make it.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be honest, like for some of those dudes, the getting dropped is soul crushing. I mean, think about the guy who goes to boot camp and finds out that he can't make it because of this or that. I know a dude who went to boot camp and couldn't pass the hearing test, and they were pretty much like, "You're done," And for some guys, I can't imagine making it through all that and then getting to that point and then getting turned around and being like, "Nah, man."
It's got to be tough. So, I'm still embarrassed, I guess, about it. It still haunts me almost, but I'll tell the story. So, we got to battalion and we did our first big field training exercise, and they kind of, I don't know how they knew this, but somehow someone had pegged me that I was kind of a computer nerd as a kid for a while. Nothing crazy, but I played some video games and like knew my way around a computer. So they made me a radio operator within the team. So like our first training exercise, we'd never done any of this stuff before, and they handed me a tough book. I'm like, we're supposed to go out and take pictures and load them up on the tough book and edit them and all this. And I was like, I figured it out in the field, on the fly. And I kind of like created at least our platoon, if not our company, like SOP. I'm like, this is how we're going to do photos. Dude, we were using cracked copies of Photoshop, man. Like somebody had like torrented Photoshop and put it on all these government tough books. And that's what we were using for like these official missions. It was so funny, dude. It's like in Relic,
Oh my God.
And, Marine Corps things, right? Anyway, so I kind of stood out on that. And because of that, they sent me in the first kind of wave of our guys to go to jump school. And I don't know if we knew this then, but our platoon was going to be the jump platoon for the company. So I was like super cool. I was like, I was always trying to, strive and be somebody. And I felt really accomplished at that. So they kind of pulled me out of this field exercise, and all through BRC, they kind of tell you these horror stories of dudes that pass BRC and then fail the PRT at jump school.
Oh no.
And because of that, they had this Marine detachment at jump school where before you could actually go to jump school, you had to go do a full PRT for the Marines, and they would kind of sign you off. So I go and I do sit-ups and like crush that. And I start doing the push-ups, and I swear to God, I got to like 40. And the dude was like, I don't like your form. You're doing them too fast. Start over. And I was like, what? And so I tried to start over, and I didn't make the number. And they're like, well, go do the run and then come back and do it again. And so I do the 2-mile run, and I come back, and this isn't for the Army. This is for the Marines. And I didn't make the number. And before, like, I had done the Army PRT probably half a dozen times. You have to do it, when they make you get it on paper that you can do this. I don't remember what the standard was, but I could do the push-ups. Like, I didn't have to do them twice in a row. But they failed me before I even got to the Army. And like, I was there with like my team leader, and like, I'm a boot, and I was one of the first guys they sat. And like, dude, I'm in Georgia. I lived in North Carolina. I thought about just going UA and going home. And like, leaving the country. I was like, they're going to kick me out of the platoon. I just ruined my entire career. Maybe I should kill myself is a viable option at this point. It was talk about soul crushing, man. I was like, I'm done, dude. And went back to battalion. I had to like stand in front of the master gunnery sergeant and like,
oh man.
And they basically came to the conclusion of like, man, all your shit is like dialed. You have, you did them. They made like drop down and do 50 push-ups right now, and I knocked it out of the park. They're like, dude, I think they just fucked you. And that was like the official position. They fucked you. I was still on, a bit of a short leash. But I stayed in the platoon. And jump school was just a nemesis for me. I was supposed to go back before the deployment, and out of nowhere, an old root canal had erupted, and I ended up in the hospital having like emergency dental surgery.
Oh, no.
Instead of going to jump school. So I was one of 2 guys in the jump platoon that wasn't jump qualified. So when they would when they all got their gold wings jumping out of planes in Afghanistan, I was driving around on a 7-ton in the desert picking them up.
Oh man, that's so shit. The crazy thing is you better take what happened at jump school and put it in a box and put an award on it, because for the military to admit that you got fucked, like, like that is mind blowing.
It's when you put it that way, you're right, but it still hurts, to be perfectly honest. It's still I don't know. Because
because when normal infantry dudes, when we see a recon guy, we know it's a recon guy because he has the gold wings, right?
Yeah.
We're walking around Pendleton, homeboy's got the gold wings. It's like, oh, he's certified badass,
Yeah. So I never got my gold wings because I did end up going to jump school, and there's kind of a whole nother story with that. We'll probably won't have time to get to, but it was after that first deployment. But I never got the gold wings. I still got my lead sleds, as they're called. And it did. It messed up my career school trajectory, because like you're supposed to like knock that out, and then you go to SEER, and like then that opens the door for other stuff, and it just really threw my whole thing off, which was too bad. When I finally did make it out there to go back, they didn't even have the Marines running the PRT anymore because they had fucked so many people over, and I got 20 something push-ups in with the Army guy, and he was like, "You're good, bro." And I was like, dude, are you just fucking kidding me right now? Like, I'm gonna finish my push-ups. Actually, I'm gonna do 70.
You will. You will let me finish. You will count these push-ups. That's awesome. Okay, so you excuse me. You're at this unit. When do y'all deploy for the first time? What year?
Yeah, so I got there in May of 2009, kind of rolled right into a workup. We all thought we were going to Iraq.
Right.
We thought we were going around January or something of 2010. And I don't remember when all this came down, but at some point the deployment got pushed back. And then at some point in 2010, it was like, nope, we're going to Afghanistan. It was, surge is picking up. We were the second wave of the surge. So we deployed, I want to say I was afraid if it was late April or May, but we'll say around April or May of 2010, we deployed.
2010.
To Helmand Plains, yeah.
Now, where do y'all go?
So we went to Leatherneck, and to start with, we spent a few weeks there, and so this is where kind of we've got some diverging experiences. We weren't doing any, super sexy, night raid JSOC shit or anything like that, but we were based out of Leatherneck, and then we would get sent to places to go on missions, essentially. And our first mission, we spent the entire, first 3 weeks or something that we were there getting ready to go on a truck mission. And then 2 days before, it's like, actually, there's no roads where we're going, so we're going to fly you there.
Jesus.
Yeah, of course, So we went down to Treknawa, which is just east of Marja. It's pretty much the like rural area outside of Marja where all the fighters that got pushed out of Marja in the Battle of Marja, where a lot of them went to. I'm not gonna say all of them. And so we ended up doing 3. Oh, go ahead.
I got 2 questions ahead of time. One, well, I guess I'll save the other one for last. How long are these missions? Are these like short or multi-week?
So they were trying to figure out what can we do with these recon guys? We're not going to send them to do reconnaissance because we have drones now, which kind of put us out of the job. No commander's going to insert a team to take pictures when there's fucking flying robots, you know? It's just never going to happen. So our first mission to Trek Noah was supposed to be 1 week. I'll fast forward. I think we were there for 33 days before they finally pulled us out. We were like, dude, we're going to die here. Like from old age. We're never leaving this place. Because they didn't tell us like, oh, you're here for a week. We're actually going to keep you here for a month. It was like, oh no, we're going to keep you for like 2 more days. And we need to check out this one other building. 2 more days. For like 15 times.
Man.
But so we flew down there, and it's kind of a funny story. You know, we'd done a bunch of training. It was back in 53, full platoon. And like they had briefed us at one point that we were going to take over this Taliban hospital, and somebody told us that we were expecting 25% casualties on insert. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Some 3-story building. Which turns out there's not I don't think there's a single 3-story building in all of Helmand Province.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Fuck, man. But you know, you get briefs, you get training, but you don't know what to really expect until you get out there. And so we get on this 53, and it takes off, and we're in the air for like 30 seconds, and both the door gunners rack their machine guns and just start dumping rounds. And my initial thought was like, oh my God, is this the war? Is this Vietnam? As soon as you fly over outside the wire, it's just fucking game on. And like
they're testing the guns.
Yeah, dude. And then they fire like a 50-round belt, and then they get brooms out and start sweeping up their brass and like sit down and cross their legs and start sipping their coffee. And I was like, and I'm in the back of the helicopter, and it finally dawned on me. I was like, oh, it was a test fire. But I was like, for 30 seconds there, I was like, this is not what CNN was showing.
Bro, World War Z, man. They're dude, at the gates, bro.
Straight up, man. It's like, oh, we're just fighting our way through the air. Like, what is happening right now? But so we land in the middle of some farmer's field. We were going to like set up some blocking position, but our whole battalion was inserting into Trek Noah, which, you know, I still have a battalion. It's Bravo and Charlie Company, and then a Force Recon platoon, which they had done they weren't supposed to be there. So they like renamed them and essentially stole them from the MU. And man, I want to say real quick, that Force platoon that was there with us, those guys were amazing, man. Some of them, probably me and a bunch of my boys are alive because of them. They were fucking badasses. They were professional. They were the real deal. And I love those dudes, man. Couple of them are actually, at least one of them is pretty kind of vet bro famous right now. He's out there. And like, none of them will probably like know me by name or anything, but a few of us have chatted on Facebook afterwards. But no, I just want to say like that Force platoon, they were just solid, man. They were so awesome. But so we had, I don't know, a couple hundred dudes flying in all at the same time, which was a lot for us. But we land in some farmer's field, and it's a shit show. I'm rucking out like a roll of concertina wires. We set up some blocking position on the road that they told us didn't exist. You know, that's why we're flying in. And we ended up spending the first full week, you know, in the southern Afghanistan. We like dug in. We didn't know the game at that point. So we straight up dug in fighting holes and covered them with cami netting. And we spent 7 days, an hour on, an hour off with 2 guys in each hole, just baking in the 130-degree sun.
Oh my God.
Dude, it was, I mean, you know, prickly heat, shitting with your vest on, you know, when it was like your off hour at night, we would undo one cummerbund, one side of your body armor to let some ventilation in.
So this is my point to interrupt and tell Sergeant Triplet, you were right when you told me don't go recon because you'll just bake in the fucking sun. That's what he told me,
man.
So I guess that's my question is right here is, okay, so like, for the infantry, we move in, we have positions, we bring in engineer support battalion. Now, don't get me wrong, we can take over buildings and hold places, out on operation. Cause there were days where we were out for weeks and we were living out of trucks, or we were, took over a building. So we can do that, but in smaller units. But so you're talking, you fly 100 dudes out here and you don't have a central location where technically, like, you have a hard position
not at this point.
Wow.
At least not. Well, let me back. Not our platoon.
Not your platoon. Okay. So how big is a platoon?
That's a great question. So recon platoon, we had 23 guys, and then we would beef that up with some support personnel. This was where it really paid to be in recon, to be honest. Is like, I'm sure for you guys, if you needed EOD support, days or hours or whatever, I could just be like, hey, Mike, can you come check out this thing over here? Because they were 2 dudes behind me in the stack when I was a point man. We had dogs, and not to be fair, not every platoon. We had, like, I think a couple EOD guys per company. They just usually ended up with us.
Now it's actually same in the infantry. So we had, for Echo Company, each company had an EOD detachment. And so if they were with you, great. And they were with me a lot of times, and then we actually had a dog per platoon. We had EOD dogs. Yeah. We had a guy per platoon that went to school.
We had dogs, we had EOD, we had an internal JTAC with each platoon.
Yeah.
And then, I guess since we're going on this, we rolled heavy, man. So in our 23-man platoon, we had 3 240 gunners, 5 saws, 7 school trained scout snipers.
Wow.
And then everyone else except for the captain and the radio guy had a 203. So we had 2 guys with bare M4s. Everyone else was rolling heavy. And obviously the anybody carrying 7.62, the 3 240 gunners and the snipers were really and the JTAC did pretty much all of the work for the entire
Yeah.
But so we spent that first week fucking baking and fighting holes, and then at the end of that, apparently the company commander was out there, and they had a harder position, so we kind of moved to that, and that's where. So we'd gone in like really heavy rucks and everything, and they told us, okay, guys, we need you to go check out one other thing, but we're stripping down. We're going light. So we stripped down to 1 ruck per team, per 6-man team.
Yeah.
And so I had my body armor. I had a 10-liter MSR dromedary, like camelback, zip tied to my back, and I had a pouch with 1 extra pair of socks and a log of Copenhagen. And then like the one guy had a backpack per team.
Oh, I do have a quick question, so I can tell you y'all were faggots if you had them. Did y'all have Pelletors?
No.
Okay, cool. Cool.
I can't hear shit, man.
Okay, good.
Probably the Force guys might have, but no.
We
did. Yeah. We did get suppressors, but I didn't bring one, at least on that first mission.
Oh, okay.
But that was like our cool, like walking around base with our fucking suppressors on.
Yeah.
Like, look cool, man. But anyways, we sent all of our stuff back, and then that 2-day little extension turned into 33 days of questing across the desert. And we developed this. I think we can talk about this. Sean Ryan was talking about how guys are getting in trouble for talking about TTPs, but this was fucking 15 years ago. Basically, we called it compound hopping, and we would, instead of sitting in fighting holes, the rest of kind of our time at war, what we would do is we would take over, we'd hard point at compounds. We'd like identify beforehand, like, hey, this is the compound we want, show up. We had some PSYOPs guys, backpacks full of cash, and be like, hey, like, have the people come out, do a tactical call out or whatever, and be like, hey, like, you can give us your house and we'll give you, $1 million, or you can just give us your house and not get $1 million. But either way, we're taking your fucking house. And then we'd roll in there. We'd usually do this at night and like knock on their door first thing in the morning. We'd furiously start filling sandbags and throwing them up on post, because as soon as the sun came up and they figured out where we were at, we'd get attacked. I mean, down in Treknawa, that first mission, it was every single day, every single morning. They would light us up. We called it tick times. Every morning, it was like going hunting, man. Every morning, every evening, they're shooting at you. At one point, we had a pot going where you could buy a 10-minute chunk of time for like $20, and then if you got shot at during your 10-minute chunk, you got everyone's money.
Oh my God. So I guess I'm gonna back up a little bit. When do you first get shot at? So this is your first deployment. So
yeah.
First time you took contact.
The first day we heard one of our other platoons engaged not far away, maybe half a click away or something like that. Not my platoon, but our boys. And it was actually a really interesting experience because about 2 hours later, a gang, not a gang, a large group of Afghans walked right by our fighting holes we were in, and with a casket of one of the guys that our buddies had just killed.
Oh shit.
And they were there's women and there's kids and there's men, and they were angry. Obviously, we just killed, and I wasn't there. I don't know really the story, but I know some of the guys in it, and they're good dudes. So they probably got shot. I was probably some farmer like, who the hell are these assholes in my field? And popped a couple of K rounds, because it doesn't seem like this was like a foreign fighter. It was a local,
Yeah.
But that really stuck with me, is just watching. It was like, oh, this is the real deal. And then I think we took a couple pot shots in our fighting holes. The first time I engaged was when we went, after that first week, to the company compound. We got attacked there. And I remember we had like 6 of us with 2 or 3 like lined up on this firing port, and like this giant gunny that we had kind of orchestrating, and like one of us would come up and like shoot, and he'd be like, "Whoa, next one, come up." And we're just like going around in a circle, like a little merry-go-round, shooting our 203s. And then basically every day after that, for the rest of that mission, we were engaged, probably usually twice a day. Maybe an exception here or there.
Now, are these long engagements or short engagements? I mean, I'm assuming they're probably pretty decently far off.
Yeah, distance-wise. Yeah. The Taliban, or whoever the hell we were shooting at down there and was shooting at us, were very good. They really did not want to open up within 300 yards or so, and usually like 2 terrain features, like tree lines or canals or something away. There was a couple times, I'll be honest, initially a few of them, and we have some ICOM chatter that they were like going to try to push in close to us, and they just got smoked immediately. And there was one time, like 2 weeks in, some like new guy, like new commander to the area, was like, "I want to get close to the Americans," and like my buddy just smoked him right in the ass. Yeah, and then they're like, "Get away from the Americans!" Like, don't do that.
I mean, that was the thing, is they had to take that advantage, and that was with us too, because they knew if they got in close. It was only like when we did operations in populated areas, like John was talking about on the first podcast, Mama Carez, a lot of buildings. So of course, they're going to go toe to toe in building work. But for a lot of engagements in Afghanistan, dude, if you have air on station, it's a good time.
That was the thing, man. Yeah. So Trek Nawa was, I'll be honest, man, it was fucking rad, because like they'd shoot at us, and we like, again, this is just the way it was, man. I'm not trying to hype anything up, but like we developed a reputation with the air, because again, we had JTACs in every platoon and they were good. And it's like, you want to go Winchester, like come down to us, we'll fucking use you. And
you want a good time, brother?
You want to get that you want to get that air combat medal, we'll make it happen. And so really the name of the game was like, get shot at, take cover, shoot back, throw a few 203s, wait for the choppers to show up. And like, it was fun, man. Yeah, I remember this one time, we had a mixed section with a Cobra and a Huey, and we were inside a compound, stacked up on the door, waiting to go out, waiting for them to strafe. Cause it was so crazy, man. They were so good at collecting their dead and their bodies. There were times where we watched dudes drop, and by the time we got to them 100 yards away, there was nothing. There was maybe some drag marks, but like we weren't finding bodies. We weren't finding guns. We weren't even finding blood most of the time. But like you'd find like a shawl, like that dude's dead, but he's gone, man. Minutes later, it was crazy. And anyway, this like Huey does like a gun run and banks over top of us, and we were close enough to like fist bump with the minigun gunner on the side, and he's like hanging out of the chopper, like fist bumping back at us, and then we're like kicking the door open, like run into the field. It was fun, man. And yeah, we were having a good time, and nobody at this point, nobody was getting hurt. We were just running and gunning, fucking hanging with the boys, blowing shit up, and just living, just going full native, man. I remember like being in these compounds, and like again, I had a pair of socks and a log of coping,
Yeah.
pillows, blankets, but it's so hot. I remember like we'd be talking to a buddy. He's like, "I'm tired, man," and we would just sit down and lay down right where we were standing and go to sleep right there.
I mean, I don't know if you may not listen to the last podcast, but Justin, it's like he was talking about, he was like, bro, it's like main character syndrome.
Yeah.
He's like, there's certain experiences in combat where you're like, this is unbelievable. I mean,
the whole thing, it was just surreal. And that's not to say it wasn't, scary. And there was a lot of close calls down there, rounds hitting in between guys' feet and, stepping on IEDs and having them not go off. And, it was, oh man, it's so cliche, but the fucking heat, dude. Our last thermometer exploded or like quit working at flashing, I think 142 on the screen or something like that, which is hotter than the hottest recorded temperature on Earth. So it's probably not, but man, I remember in one of these compounds, like dumping a 5-gallon jug of water on myself. And by the time I walked 20 yards to where I was sleeping, I was bone dry. I mean, bone dry.
Man. Now, how are y'all getting resupplies? Or are they bringing it in?
Great question. So kind of going back a little bit, we would take over a compound, kick the dudes out, furiously fill sandbags, get them on the roof, machine guns on the roof, weather the first assault on that position. And then we bring in resupply choppers. So we would carry just enough food and water to get us through the night, and maybe like one more day, I guess. A little bit extra food. And then they would fly in, 53s to resupply us. It's amazing how, I don't know, man. Sometimes they get it right next to us, and sometimes that bitch would be a mile away. You're like, really, dude? You couldn't? We had an LZ for you right there.
How are y'all marking LZs? Are y'all doing night flights or are you doing day?
No, they were coming in the day, which is pretty wild.
Okay, day. Yeah.
Probably just like probably the air panels, I'm pretty sure. Maybe smoke. I honestly don't remember.
No, look, I got one other question, just because I haven't talked to anybody about this. We never had FSRs till we were in Afghanistan. Do you know what I'm talking about? The first strike ration, where it's like
You know what first strikes are?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my man.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Okay, did you guys like them?
Yes. Pros and cons.
Okay.
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
Okay. But they had some awesome shit in them.
So, dude, here was our experience with first strikes. Is initially we were like, these are the shit. You don't have to cook them. You got these little sausage sandwiches. And I was like, man, there's only 3 meals and they're basically all the same, except for like they swap out a packet of chicken and a packet of chicken and tuna. And by the end of that 33-day mission, I literally had one of my best friends come down with hyponatremia because he just quit eating because he could not stomach another first strike. Right. And he just dropped. Man. He just dropped, and like, it was a full-time job to stay hydrated out there for that long. And so you're doing these crazy rehydration powders and all this shit. And so, of course, my buddy just drops. And the initial thought is like dehydration. And so they're about to start pushing fluids. But our corpsman was legit and like went through his questions. And was like, when's the last time you ate? And he's like, 3 days ago. Whatever.
Oh, shit.
And so they ended up, this was actually funny. Now, that's a funny question. They started bringing us in MREs because they're like, we cannot eat these pieces of shit anymore. It's the same meal all day, every day. We can't do it. And then one of the times, again, so this is probably 20 something days into this 33-day mission, when again, it's like every 2 days, like, hey, you're going home tomorrow. It's like,
oh man,
we were going home. The battalion commander was going to fly in and give us a pep speech, and we were going to get on 53s and not go home, but go back to Leningrad. And the helicopters show up, and there's no battalion commander, but they gave us a box of like half-rotten fruit from the chow hall. And that was the day. That was the day we're like, oh my God, we're never leaving. And they started bringing us cigarettes. And like dudes are like starting to smoke, and it's causing drama with like, I've smoked my whole life. You just started yesterday. I get all the cigarettes, you know.
It's so funny because no one knows what I'm talking about when I ask about first strike rations. They're like, bro, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's an MRE. It's meant for 24 hours, but the little crunch bar it had was debatably pretty good.
The Zapple sauce, which was the caffeine infused applesauce, man. That was the shit. I was living off that for a while.
Dude, let me tell you, the gum that tastes like Big Red, it was like caffeine gum.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I ate so much of that it rubbed my mouth raw. Like, you know, when you're on post or you're staying up all night, it's like that 2:00 dick sucking hour where you're just sucking hard dick,
it's
dude.
so tough, man. I got to the point where I would only dip on missions. I don't know, like I have a really addictive personality, but for some reason with dip, I could go on a mission and dip the whole time, and I'd whole routine. If I'm going on watch at 2 a.m. and I get woken up, I throw a dip in. And then when I go to wake up the next guy at 15 minutes prior, pull it out. I'll be able to go to sleep. We get back on base and I wouldn't even look at the shit, you know?
Wow. That's interesting.
It was weird. Anything else, dude, I touch it once and 10 years later, I'm like, I should probably talk to somebody about this.
Man, I'm going to tell you, that's so funny. So what rank are you at this point? Are you a Lance Corporal or Corporal?
No, I picked up Corporal right before I deployed. They kind of, they basically, like, a Corporal does not mean the same thing as it does in the infantry. And they basically look at it, the way it was explained to me is like, you have a bunch of different responsibilities and they can't pay you more in your rank, so you just get promoted faster.
Yeah. So, I think y'all's cutting score was pretty
low.
It wasn't competitive. I mean, I don't think.
No, if you just, it was basically like picking up Lance to pick up Corporal.
Okay. So
it wasn't a big deal.
For the corporals ish, this was like the Lance Corporal underground, so to speak. So of course y'all don't know shit. They're like every 2 days they're like, you're going home. And y'all are like,
you just got to do one more thing. And like, just got to check out one more building. But, I got to tell this one story. I don't know, man. I'm curious your perspective on this. I think this was one of those things where you just take a step back and like, this is the craziest shit. Like, there's no way to explain this to someone who doesn't understand it. But all right, so you're asking about how they would resupply us, and we would send up, hey, here's what we want, here's how much food, whatever. But the release mechanisms on the cargo nets on the helicopters required a certain amount of weight for them to release properly.
Okay.
And that's how they're bringing everything in. It's like sling loads underneath choppers. And like the wing guys like, could you guys stop cutting our cargo nets? And we're like, dude, we're fucking getting shot at while we're getting
Jesus.
Whatever. Anyway, that's a sidebar. And so they would fill up what we asked for, and then to make up any extra weight they needed to add, they would just put cases of water. So we'd always have this huge surplus of water when we'd stay at these compounds for like 3 to 5 days. And then we'd tear everything down and we'd move to another one and kind of do the whole thing all over again. We were human terrain mapping. We were finding out who runs the place, who's the important dudes. Do we show up here and get shot at, or do we show up here and, hand out candy to kids? So we're basically doing like combat anthropology, if you will. And so at the end of, 5 days in a compound, we're getting ready to leave. We'd have sometimes like dozens or like hundreds of cases of water. And
I see.
You see where this is going, don't you?
This is going.
We're in the middle of the Afghan. We're in the middle of the Afghan desert, dude. These people have never tasted a sip of clean bottled water in their entire lives, and we're doing hearts and minds. We want to convince them that we're the good guys. Except in the IED brief, they had shown us that some of the pressure plates the Taliban had made, they'd used water bottles for pressure plates. Now, granted, they could get bottles. Like there was these little houses with stores. Kids would come up, 2 Pepsi, $1 or 1 Pepsi, $2 or whatever, and you'd haggle it. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like we're introducing new technology as in the plastic water, but we didn't want to get blown up with our own fucking water bottles, which like kind of makes sense. You see where this is going. So every couple of days, dude, we would form the Huya Congo line out in the middle of some farmer's poppy field. with all our shit on, because, we're getting shot at, and this is the last thing we would arm over arm, hand over hand, hundreds of cases of marked water for Africa. Do you remember that? It was like humanitarian assistance resources that got diverted to us. And we had this down to a science, man, where you'd have like dudes opening boxes, dudes slashing bottles, and like an inferno in the middle of this dude's field of like water bottles that were slashing and burning. And I mean, this is a whole nother thing. They let us not shave on this mission until the night before we had to go home. They didn't want to, they wouldn't let us, they wouldn't let us get off the bus and shave in the bathroom. We had to have 5 dudes to a single rusty, single blade razor blade with a month-long beard chipping away at it, with no shaving. Anyway. But so we got these crazy pictures, dude, of like us out there with like good beards for 19-year-old Marines, right. With like an inferno in this farm field behind us, all your shit on. And it was like, dude, what the fuck is happening right now? And it made sense at the time, but I don't know, man, I think back on those nights and that, you ever see the movie Lord of War? Nick Cage? Yeah. You know the intro where it's like the life of the bullet, where it shows the bullet being made in Russia and the guy inspecting it and putting it in the crate, and the crate gets open and loading a magazine and some 10-year-old like domes some dude with it. I've thought about what it would be like to have like life of a water bottle, of like just like this water bottle making it through the humanitarian checkpoint, like getting diverted to us, and then like here I am with a K-bar cutting this thing open and setting it on fire in the middle of some dude's field in southern Afghanistan. And it makes about as much sense as anything did in that war.
Oh, that's one of them things where it's like someone in the command chain has, okay, I'm going to say it like this. I have lived my life in the Marine Corps all 8 years, knowing this was true after about the 3rd or 4th year. Yeah. Here's what happens. There is a general or a colonel or some higher officer who's standing in a room, and there's the boot captain, right, who's getting coffee, and he's the one who has to spread the word, right? And in the general or the colonel or the full bird or whatever, he looks at something and goes, they might do this, or like he might say something like, we really shouldn't throw them water bottles away, or we really should get rid of them just in case they use them. And He's like, just an idea. He was like, I don't know, maybe we should come up with something. But then the captain leaves this meeting and he goes, the colonel said, we need to destroy these water bottles. And then you're down there like, this makes sense, but as well as I know, that I could go to any ditch in Afghanistan, probably right now, take me back to Shergazi, baby, and I will find you 100 water bottles within a square mile.
Yeah.
The same ones we used.
Rare. Yeah.
God, man,
but
this
is... And like, in some sense, man, it's like, yeah, I don't want to get blown up with one of our water bottles. So like,
right.
But man, maybe it would have set a good precedent to just like give them to the people, I don't know.
Yeah, like we're here winning hearts and minds, right?
Yeah. Two in the heart and one in the mind, yeah.
Dude, this goes back to like when I was on my first deployment in the MEU, there was a Playboy magazine that somebody had put when we were doing jungle warfare training in East Timor. And so we're doing so we're doing like a patrol through the jungle. And there's a Playboy magazine. And of course, what does some dumb Lance Corporal do? He reaches down and he picks it up, and there's a smoke grenade set as a trap underneath it. So it goes off, and then they make us CASEVAC half the squad and do dumb shit. But the lesson is that you don't pick up random trash on the ground.
That's so true, man. Yeah. That's a good segue. So we did that mission, and we went back to Leatherneck for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, rest and refit. And I think it was our second truck now mission we go out, and wasn't my platoon, but and maybe I'm wrong about this. I kind of feel like our platoon is almost like a big like grunt squad, and then our company is kind of like one of your guys' platoons. Just like we had like 70 guys, 70 operators in the company, something like that, like 23 in the platoon. So the numbers are just it's kind of like a different scale. You know what I'm saying? Does that sound about right? Because you guys would have what, like 40 or 50 in a platoon?
No.
Okay.
Well, you know, I think I want to say that a plussed up company with all the attachments rolling in, Echo Company, I think, was 180 strong.
Okay, yeah, so that's about double.
I think,
But anyway, that's just to say, you know, we were super tight with the guys in our platoon, but I knew everybody in the company, you know, by first name. And so the corpsman, and he was a good dude, man. I mean, he's still a good dude. He survived this, but I remember I'd been smoking a cigarette at the smoke pit with him like a couple days before on base, and he picked up corpsman from second platoon picked up a tampon box. Why the fuck is there a tampon? But we never seen that before. And he's a 3.5 amputee now. Both legs, left hand, and the bottom 3 fingers on his right hand, I believe. And that was our first casualty. We were actually, so we went out on that mission and we linked up with some of your boys from 2-4 at PB Ape. And I guess that was like kind of a pre-detachment. You guys had to go out there, something like that. So we were actually hanging with them when we got gathered around and given that news. And man, I'm sure, you know, like it wasn't so fun anymore. You know, it got real. It got real quick. Because this dude was, you know, married. He was a solid dude. Like our corpsmen were SARCs, Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsmen. So they actually were legit SOCOM assets. They were all gone through. Yeah, so all SARCs, Recon Corpsmen, have gone through the 18 Delta Special Operations Medical Course, which is
no shit.
Yeah, they're like 6 month long. So they're basically like, and like they're all dual cool jump dive. They do have a pipeline, and so they're legit, man. They're all just like, they're a little bit older. They're, you know, they're actual fucking SOCOM assets, unlike the rest of us, you know.
They're like operators.
They're like the real deal. You know, they'll often like go like from recon, like get bumped over to MARSOC and that kind of a thing. And so to lose one of those dudes was a real hit right off the bat. Refocused, I want to say, because we were just starting to feel invincible, man. We were like, we are on a crusade. We're getting shot at every day. Nothing's happening. We're just blowing dudes up left and right. It's like God is on our side. And then Doc got blown up, and it changed the tone. For sure. And
I mean, you get to that, and that first guy, because I remember the first casualty we took was EOD, and it's like when EOD steps on an IED.
It changes the perspective.
Oh, dude, yeah, because you go from like, and I agree with you. It's been a while. This is the first operation, but it's not like it's the first operation, but it's out from when we get there. You know, we as the infantry, we'll do like 4 operations of deployment. You know, big pushes, and so this, but I mean, you're talking like EOD steps on an IED, and now you're just like, if he can step on an IED, we're all fucked. know? I mean,
It's and it gets dark, man.
Yeah.
How long into your deployment was that?
Go ahead.
How long into your deployment was that?
You know, I don't. If I sit here and try to think about it, I won't remember. So it was early.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, on the first operation, we also had a blue on blue KIA.
Oh no.
So yeah.
Do you mind going into that a little bit?
No, I'll tell the story. So on the first operation, we had a tank platoon with us, and no dig on tanks, because I'll put it to you this way: the second tank platoon that replaced them, they ripped with them like a month later. So this is bad juju, because tanks are doing this thing. One of the snipers was in a sniper hide. He was shooting on this operation. The tank didn't verify the target. The tank the Lance Corporal on the 762 coax was like, I see a muzzle flash. The tank commander said, take it. And they shot one of our snipers, Benjamin Schmidt. And that one was, man, that sucked.
That's awful, man. I feel like I tried to keep up with just what was happening in Afghanistan. I never heard about that. That's wild,
Yeah.
man. I can totally see how that happens. That's a rough start to taking
Yeah.
casualties, though.
I mean, it was more about like the fact that it's one of those things where it's like, of all the things that can happen, it's like that's one where it's like you don't get killed by the enemy, you don't get killed by a bomb, you get killed by your own guy. And there was a lot of animosity. A
Oh, I'm
lot.
sure, man.
Oh, man.
I'll skip ahead a little bit. The very beginning of my second deployment, um, we were doing our left seat, right seat with the battalion we were replacing, and I was like we were like forward pushed out to patrol base and went River City. So they shut down all the communications on base, which usually means someone got hurt. And we're like, what the hell is going on? And one of the guys that from the unit we were replacing, he was a radio operator, was walking out of a door they'd walked out of every day for the entire deployment. This is like December. He's got his tickets home for Christmas already. And his radio antenna tapped a live wire overhead and electrocuted him to death on his last patrol.
Man.
And it was just like, dude, what a start to this deployment and an end to theirs, like they were going home like the next day. Like they were, God, man. It's just all those little things.
I don't know if I'm going to get the details right. And I'm pretty sure I think I'm going to get the details right. But there was a guy, an engineer support battalion kid, who touched a live wire on a generator during our deployment. I don't know what position it was, but he touched the live wire and it stuck him to the generator, killed him. God. And the guy that went to go get him off also killed him. And it's just like, dude, of all things.
Yeah. I hate that, man. It's like, of all the things. Oh, it's rough.
Okay, I do got one quick question before we wrap this deployment up or get to the rest of it. You guys are going back to Leatherneck in between these we're rotating that. Mm-hmm. The only reason I asked this is because I remember going to Leatherneck, and after we got back from Shirazi, you rotate into Leatherneck for like a week, and then you're out, you go to Germany or whatever. And I remember riding by a post on Leatherneck, and there was like an IBAN target in the post.
Yeah, they didn't even have guards on the base. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I just remember thinking, I just spent 7 months defending a position, and it drove me insane, dude. And they're like, you can't have live rounds and shit. I'm like, oh.
Leatherneck was something else, man. Salsa dancing Tuesdays, nail salons that were prostitution rings being run out of them. Dudes, but man, a dude from a different battalion that I knew said it best. You go to one of the, I think, 7 chow halls serving 4 meals a day on Leatherneck, and you got a line outside, 100 people long, most of them with stars and bars on their shoulders, shiny shit all over the place. And you fly 40 minutes north, and you got dudes 4 on, 4 off, fighting for their lives up in Sangin or Nowzat or Musa Kela or Garmshire, or, you name it, man. Just like, just getting run ragged, watching their buddies get blown up, killing people. And then you come back to Leatherneck, and it's just like steak and lobster Sundays, which, to be fair, is about the same quality you would expect steak and lobster to be in Afghanistan. But like Baskin Robbins ice cream, you go to the smoke pit, and dudes are like, man, you heard that shooting? Like, I'm glad I got my, 9mm with me. Like, dude, that's the range where dudes are zeroing their rifles. Fucking idiot. It was weird, man. It was a weird place to be, because it's just like, dudes don't even know.
I can't imagine to have the toe in and toe out. You know what I mean? At least like when the infantry, it's like when we went to the Musa Kala district, we were in it for 7 months straight. It was like, there was no back and forth between other worlds. It was you lived here. Yeah, and I'm not saying that you guys were there for long, but like I've heard that with the like other JSOC units, SOCOM units. They're like, oh, we were in, wherever, and it's like they kind of hopped out of those big bases, and it's like that's got to be a crazy in and out.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it was great, but
it was a weird dichotomy. That first deployment, we would only come in usually 2 to 3 or 4 days at a time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you definitely didn't integrate into the Leatherneck culture.
Yeah.
My second deployment, we spent a lot of time there. We'll talk about that, I think, in the next installment.
Yeah.
But it was weird, man. And it was nice in some ways, but yeah, your phone calls and Skyping, and it kind of pulled you out for a little bit.
Right.
But so yeah, we did, and so it's cool you referenced this unit in one of your other podcasts I listened to. But so we did those 3 Trek Nala missions and some other stuff, and we had some vehicle IEDs and like some other bullshit. My platoon hit a vehicle IED that nobody got pulled from the platoon, but I think they all got Purple Hearts for, got their bells rung pretty good. And actually we rolled into, I can see it, how this goes. There's a million of these stories, but we rolled into FOB Geronimo outside of Nawa, which was owned by 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines out of Hawaii, America's battalion. And they wouldn't let some of our dudes into the chow hall because they had blood on their camis.
Get out of here.
I swear to God, man, we had to eat in the moon dust in the parking lot. And they brought our food in little cartons out. And their sergeant major said that he would rather have Marines that looked good and couldn't do like 4 pull-ups than guys that could knock out 20 but had dirty uniforms and unbloused boots or whatever. And those guys later got in trouble for hiring their ANA to shoot at them so that they could get their combat action ribbons.
Oh my
God. Their ANA dimed them out because they didn't think it was right. So anyway, we kind of wrap up, and that 33-day mission, that was our longest one, but we would go out a couple weeks at a time. We started doing some vehicle stuff after that. And then that was all really the prelude and the warm up and the JV league, because we went back to Leatherneck, and this was when 3-5 took control of Sangin from 3-7.
Okay.
And so for those who don't know, Sangin is a district in northern Helmand. And it was what's in that movie Restrepo gets a lot of publicity, and that they had a lot of guys there. It was tough terrain. I'm not taking anything away from those guys, but way more coalition, both British and Americans, died in Sangin than anywhere else in Afghanistan. And so it had been owned by the Brits, and the Brits got to where, and this isn't really a dig on them, but they couldn't even leave their own patrol bases. They were pinned down in their bases. And then so they kind of ripped with 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. They had a company come in and help them out, kind of do a left seat, right seat. And we saw 3-7 coming out, getting ready to go home while we were on the Leatherneck. And then 3-5 replaced 3-7. And the Taliban knew, the fighters knew that this was going on. And as soon as 3-5 tried to walk out their door, they got hit with everything those guys had. And they were just getting hammered. And they started losing dudes every single day at KIA, along with dozens of double and triple amputees. And basically there was a line, this Fob Jackson, and they had like 3 or 4 PBs in a row on this line. And it was a flot. It was a forward line of owned troops. It was the front line of the Afghan war in Helmand, where they could not take one step past that line without just getting hammered. And I think they'd been there for about 2 weeks, and we got briefed that 3-5 is getting torn the fuck up. You guys are going to go take pressure off of them, was the quote. And they were like, this is going to be, there was a somberness to the briefings from our commanders where it was like, they are expecting us to die, some of us to die up there. Like, this is a different game. You could feel it,
Yeah.
man. It's like, you're gonna see weapons you've never seen before. These fighters are legit. 3-5's losing dudes every day. And cool. It's like, roger that. Let's go. Let's do this. And so, they dropped us off in a field in the middle of the night, 4 miles north of that line that 3-5 couldn't go north of. And we patrolled all night and occupied this castle up on this hill that just overlooked the entire upper Sandy River Valley.
Now,
3 foot thick walls, 20 feet tall. Like, it's
okay. Well, sorry. I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So 3-5, we kind of knew what was going on with them because 2-4 and 3-5, we live next to each other in Mateo.
You guys are both in Mateo, yeah.
Yeah. So like we were hearing reports back, but so you were getting the briefing country. So I guess my quick question here is when you guys are patrolling and you're finding this hard point that you're going to, there's, we knew 3-5 was a heavy IED in saying it. So were you guys using the Valens?
Yeah. So, that night specifically, I mean, the way they had IED belts set up in Sangin. So they would have, lines of IEDs set up around 3-5's positions.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that night we actually felt fairly relatively safe IED wise because we were dropping into an area that they didn't know we were coming,
Right.
And we knew what building we were taking. This was a pre-planned, significant operation. Operation Eastern Endeavor, I believe it was called. However, after that night, the IED threat in Sangin is indescribable. I found a Marine Corps document published in 2009. This was like later, because I kind of became a little bit obsessed with this whole thing. That they determined the entire Sangin district was a low density minefield, and they estimated 2,000 IEDs per square kilometer. And what that meant was every pathway, every doorway, every bridge, every staircase, every window, every freaking palm tree. Sometimes it seemed like, anything that wasn't just a random open field was IED'd. You'd read reports from some of these things where like they'd have one decoy IED with 40 or 50 other IEDs around it. Dozens. Just dozens, man. It was crazy. And so we had reorganized our platoons because the 6-man recon team just wasn't, which is kind of our standard thing, didn't apply to Afghanistan. So we had actually almost formed essentially squad size elements. So 23-man platoon, but really we were closer to 30 with attachments and stuff. So we just split into 2 elements of like 15 dudes. Right. So that way we could be mutually supporting, but we had enough, ass in each element to do work on our own. And this is not to my own horn, but it's my story. We tried determining when to change a point man is kind of a weird thing because you want point men, guys in the front who know what they're doing and are experienced, and it's not their first time, but you can do that job for so long that you just stop caring and you just get burnt out.
Yeah.
And so we'd swap them out every several weeks of going on operations, essentially. Well, going into Sangin was like my turn to be the point man for our Bravo element. So I want to be very clear. If we were moving as a full platoon, I was not in the front. But once we split into different elements, I was in the front of my element, which was fucking scary. Straight up, man.
God, dang.
Fucking terrifying, dude. And so I had a metal detector. I had a dude with a dog. I had EOD. We had some other tools, some high tech, some low tech. So we had like these like deep water fishing poles with hooks attached to them that we would extend out and like drag it across the road looking for wires and shit. But like 90-something% of IED finds are through visual indicators. Like that dirt looks different than that dirt. Or
right. Yeah.
And I went over to get trained by our EOD guy going in to be the point man, which, man, it just means you're the fucking expendable kid in the platoon that's
Yeah,
not really, like I'm a radio operator, but we got another one of those, so
Next man up.
fuck, man. And he starts, he's like, so what you want to do when you get up to the pathway is you get down on your hands and knees and you push your fingers through the dirt and you try to feel the lip of where the pressure plate has been buried. It's like, are you really? It's 2010 and that's the best we got, huh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. And I remember like at some point, my mom asked me like what I thought about, what was it, like McChrystal being relieved or whatever it was. Like, Mom, like, that is not my war. My war is like dragging my fingers through the dirt on my hands and knees, trying not to get blown the fuck up. And then they started getting smart and they would start stripping the wires and hiding them in the dust. So if you push two wires that were stripped together, that would blow up.
Oh man.
And they started putting DFCs, directional fragmentation charges, giant shotguns in PVC pipes up in the trees aimed at the crossing points and stuff. And so I'll say this is where, with our mission set and like a little bit more leeway than some of the infantry guys we worked around, we were really fortunate in that we got to like never walk the same path twice and like never do the same thing. We would wake up and just do random shit. Hey, we're just gonna walk through canals all day today. We're just and whereas like the 3-5 dudes, like they're having to walk the beat, the same route every single day. And it's like, I feel so bad for those guys, man, because that was the gig.
I don't know if we learned some of them lessons from 3-5. We probably did, but I do remember them telling us, do not patrol the same. Do not patrol the same. They were like, the only point that should be the same is coming in and out of the cop, but we know they can't plant IEDs there because it's visually covered. You know what I mean?
Except, and again, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but we tripped some of these other units that we were, we'd go in and like, I don't want to say help out, but like beef them up a little bit. And they got guys up on post for 12-hour shifts, man. And it's like they're sleeping, they're jerking off. It's like you can't focus on something for 12 hours. We would do 1-hour shifts, and there's patrol bases we stayed at that had IEDs going off right outside the gate because like the dude's been up there for 10.5 hours and he'd rather fucking die by an IED at that point.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
It was frustrating, man, because we tried to. Hey, I mean, it is what it is. We had some really talented EOD guys. We had some thinkers. Like we had a little more leeway than some of the infantry units out there. And so like one day we literally just woke up and like, hey, let's just walk through canals all day. We'll just not step foot on dry land all day. And so then we're trying to like pump out, hey, here's what is working for us to the other units around us. And so we'd be like, hey, here's like an example of like, here's how we did something random one day. And they're like, Recon says walk through the waters. And then they just start patrolling canals day in and day out. And then they started, the fucking guys in Sangin, they were taking inner tubes and strapping IEDs to them and then floating them down the canals.
Man, God dang, dude, that's insane.
I mean, you'd be up on post, man, and you're just watching bombs go off in buildings just all day, and with no one in them, donkeys, kids, just they're, it's crazy, man. I could go on about that for a while, but we did 2 missions in Sangin, and each one was several weeks long, and so yeah, we occupied that castle on the hill, and we stayed up there for a couple of days, and we ran some patrols out of there and like dropped down into the green zone along the river, but they weren't hitting us there because it was just too fortified of a position, and that's not what we were there to do. And so after a couple of days, the whole company, we packed up and we dropped in just to the center of the green zone in Sangin, and we occupied 2 compounds right next to each other. And the sun came up that morning, and we were basically engaged for the next like I don't know how, until we left a week and a half or something like that. I mean, just nonstop. It was, and like, I'll never forget the look on we had a pretty salty platoon commander captain. He'd been like 4 deployments in the grunts before that and like seen some shit. And, like, the look on his face, like when the first RPGs came like screaming over top, it was like, oh, we're in it now. And, but it was wild, man. I mean, we've got like a platoon deployment video and like 90% of it is just airstrikes all around us from that position, because it was nonstop. It was just like,
man.
And we're still running, on these missions, we're still running as a platoon, 24, 48 hour patrols out on our own, doing our own things as well. And we were doing everything we could, and we were doing well, and we got good at it, man. But we formed a pattern that somebody caught on to. And on October 25th, the morning of October 25th, the point man from our alpha element stepped on an IED. And so he lost both his legs and his left arm. Guy behind him lost his face, essentially, like an eye. Guy behind him got his bell rung to where it changed him forever. And then a couple of A&A guys got, they don't get any real credit, but they got shredded as well.
Yeah.
And the other shit thing about Sangin was that it was a 45-minute one-way flight to the nearest trauma center. And so you're outside that golden hour de facto. It's an hour and a half if they launch birds immediately, But so one of the other really cool assets that we had is every single one of us had been to the TCCC course with the live tissue pig labs. So we'd all, packed wounds of live animals and put tourniquets on things. We're pretty dope. And I don't talk about this day a whole lot. It's a rough one.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone that's been in Afghanistan, this isn't a unique story, but it was our story, and so they had that. I was about 300 yards away on the other side of a field with my element, and IED ZAP numbers start going up, 9 lines start going up, and we know the medevac's inbound, and I'm expecting PJs with Blackhawks or something, and we know they're waiting, like the enemy is waiting for the bird, and I see this fucking Chinook crest over the horizon, and I'm like, oh God, no. And it turns out it was the Brits. Call sign was Tricky, which, like, anybody listening to this knows how to get in touch with those dudes. I'd love to chat with them. And these guys are straight up heroes, man. I wouldn't have landed that bird, because they crested the last ridge and like started dropping in, and I think they fired like 22 RPGs at that bird or something like that. And dude, as soon as it opened, I'm just like in my gun. I have snippets of when I was changing mags of like looking around and being like, oh my God, and I never once saw a bad dude holding a gun shooting at us. You're just shooting at tree lines all the time. So we're just like lighting up tree lines, and I swear to God, man, I watched an RPG hit that helicopter. I'm like changing mags. I look up and like saw an RPG screaming. I swear it, and it didn't. And so either they got some like super high speed secret squirrel fucking countermeasures that nobody knows about, or like, I think RPGs are supposed to blow up at like 1,000 meters, and like that dude was like 1,001 meters away.
Man. But
like, I just remember reloading, like seeing in my mind like an RPG hit the helicopter. I was like, oh, that's not good. And like back in the gun fighting again. Like, I've seen a movie about this. But they landed in under that, and throughout all this, like our platoon sergeant actually got a Silver Star for this day, and he fired a law rocket at a position as we were telling the Apaches to like shoot at the guys shooting the rockets. He shoots a law, and then we get strafed by an Apache.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
But it, what is it, the 30 mil chain gun, but it was offset by like 5 meters. And so they just like strafed right in front of our position, which probably might have been intentional. I've heard that's a thing they'll do if they're like not 100% sure of their target, but it's just chaos, man. We get
Man.
those guys out of there and like, the dust kind of settles. And then like, I'm the point man. So I like got to lead. We waited for the rest of that element, what was left of it, to RTB. And then like I had to lead my element back to base, which was a stressful walk.
Oh, I bet. Oh my God.
And we got intercepted by the force platoon who had come out to kind of back us up, which was very welcome when we realized, those guys in the tree line aren't our team.
Yeah.
Because I was staring at my feet most of the time. Yeah, and then we got back in, and they're like, hey, dudes are alive, but they're on their way to, it's touch and go.
Yeah.
And I was like, do whatever you got to do, smoke a cigarette, take a minute, get your shit together, and we're going back out in the morning. So be ready. And the force platoon went out that night to recon our next company patrol base, and they found a compound, strategic compound. It was IED'd out the ass, and they disarmed several and went inside, and they had thought they had cleared it, so they were kind of like gear off. Somebody stepped up to a hole and stepped on an IED inside the compound that they hadn't found. So this was like the next day, and he lost both legs, and then a bunch of their dudes, they had all their gear off inside the compound, so they got hammered pretty hard in there. And they actually told us that he was KIA, and that would have been our first KIA on the deployment. We were under the impression that he was KIA for like several days before word came down that actually no, he's not dead.
Oh shit! Yeah. Dang, dude.
Yeah,
That's
which was
insane.
pretty fucking crazy. And which we, as far as I understand it, and again, it just is what it is. We were the only, I'll say infantry, but like combat arms Marine battalion to deploy, during the surge in Afghanistan, and we didn't take any KAs, and we twice actually.
Wow.
By some miracle.
Sheer miracle.
The recon unit that replaced us on the way out, they had KIAs before we were out of country, and then when we came back in, again, the one that we replaced had a KIA from a fucking electrical line before they, so it was just it was just some kind of miracle, if you believe in that kind of a thing. But yeah, so then that mission was another like week or so long. We were gonna go through a village that like we showed up to, and we watched just every woman and child just flee that village, and then we were doing obs on it and watching IEDs just go off. And I was gonna lead up my element through the town, cross it to the other side, and I was like, well, that's a wrap for me. I said goodbye to my legs, like verbally. I was like, it's nice having you guys. And I was not religious at the time, but I prayed, and I was opening my eyes from that prayer. My platoon sergeant walked up to me and said, like, we changed the plan and we're not going through the town now. No way. That's cool.
Yeah.
So we ended up occupying this hilltop outside the town. And one of my good buddies, who's kind of an eccentric dude that a lot of guys didn't take very seriously, like noticed that there was like a pile of cigarette butts in this one spot, and like told somebody about it. And our EOD guys started looking around. Like I'd already like circled halfway around this hill. And you come over the radio, like, hey, like everybody stop, I got a possible IED. And I remember thinking like, oh, fuck you, Mike. Like everything's a possible IED out here. Yeah. And like 2 minutes later, he's like, yep, I got a pressure plate with 2 82 millimeter mortars attached to it. We're like, oh, and then we found 4 more of those on that same hillside. So we ended up you just like brush the dirt around your feet, and then where your knees are going to go, and then where your butt's going to go. And you just like sit there and do not move.
Don't move. Yeah.
And so anyway, we ended up leaving, and we ended up going back into Singing after that for a few more weeks, and didn't take any more casualties that time.
Okay, so what we're going to do is it's 2:35. show. For those of you who are like, damn, when are y'all gonna finish this? All right, we already knew going into this that we were gonna split this into 2 episodes because we just knew. So we're going to do the rest of this on the next episode, which is cool because I don't have a guest for next week anyway. By the way, I was in talks with the 3-5 guys about singing. So if any of you 3-5, so if any of you 3-5 homies are listening, because I know a bunch of y'all downloaded my podcast after Dork Horse posted it on Instagram, hit me up because I want to get this singing story, which will be nice because you got some experience there, so to kind of get to see both sides of it.
Yeah, man, you got to get those guys' story needs to be heard.
Yeah.
Their experience. Yeah. I think they might have the most harrowing experience of the whole GWAT, and that's not to take anything away from anyone else. Obviously,
agreed.
They got put through the ringer out there.
I'd like to hear those stories. So we're gonna wrap this up. All right. Well, I appreciate it, dude. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.